Hello and welcome back to episode 8 of the ReelTok podcast. This is a very special episode. It is our Halloween special. As you can see, if you are watching on YouTube, we are all dressed up, some a bit more frightening than others. As always, we are on everything: Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. If you have not followed or subscribed, it would mean the absolute world. We are trying to hit our subscriber goal on YouTube of 5,000 because that is when we want to start releasing merch. Other than that, let's get into it. Gentlemen, it is our Halloween episode. We are all dressed up. Seth, you look like a fucking menace. What are you wearing and why?
Can I take this off now?
Yeah, you can definitely take that off.
For anyone not watching, it is very hot under that. Okay, there we
Tell
go.
them what you are for those not watching.
I am the Nun.
Bitch is what
From
you are.
Cam's favourite film, The Nun. Believe it or not.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
This was my first choice, given that it's Cam's favourite villain. It's from a terrible film.
Horrendous film.
A horrendous film. But yeah, I thought this would be the go-to. I went for The Nun. Because it is quite scary, you know, in person. Like,
The mask is frightening. The mask is
Dude,
frightening.
I hate it, man.
whole
The Nun
ga-
is
I've got-
scary.
Again, anyone who isn't watching, I've got the whole gown, I've got a belt on, the whole Shazam. So it is quite scary. But yeah, I went for The Nun.
Tyler, you're looking exceptional right now. We know you've been on a Ted Lasso binge, so it's only fitting that you are dressed as him for Halloween.
Yeah, you see, so for my Halloween costume, I wanted something that's a good costume, obviously, but I also wanted something like I could wear. Like, this is like a nice, like, puffer jacket, like a AFC Richmond. And then
It really is, yeah. You can wear that like
so I'm just gonna wear it like in New York City next week when I'm there. And then I also got an AFC Richmond hoodie. I got one of the mugs, coffee mugs, didn't show up in time. But yeah, one thing before we get on to everyone's costumes, anyone listening to this who's in high school or college, I'm about to give you the best Halloween costume advice you're ever gonna have. So take notes, pull your car over to the side of the road, listen up. I know it's tempting, guys. I know you see a sports jersey in your closet and you're like, I'm just going to be a basketball player. I'm just going to be a hockey player, a football player because it's easy. I can throw on a jersey. Don't do it. I promise you're going to have more fun at parties. Girls are going to be more, like, you're more cool to the girls if you're wearing an actual costume or you dress up. I promise no one in the history of ever has looked at a guy wearing a football jersey and been like, that's a great costume, man. And I've been to college. I know 90% of guys just wear a sports jersey and say that's my Halloween
No one
costume.
does that here. No one does that.
Yeah, well, everyone at college will do it for guys, and I promise you'll be more fun at parties. Girls will talk to you more. Guys will think you're more cool. So if you're in high school or college, don't be a sports athlete. Just go look at our costumes. You don't have to go crazy. Batman's been done before. The Nun, like, just buy some off Amazon. George is looking beautiful. I promise, don't be a sports person. That's my biggest advice to you. You'll have a lot more fun in college. That's my rant is over.
Now, for those of you not watching this on YouTube, you can't see Cam's triple XS Batman costume that he has taken a scissor to for the last 5 minutes.
It's so small.
Yeah.
I'm Batman. I'm gonna talk this entire episode like this.
Did you not try this on before
No,
this
dude,
morning?
I went to Party City and bought a size 8 to 10 Batman costume, and I said, "Yeah, that'll fit."
What was the thought process behind that
Oh
that led
my
you to buy that size?
The thought process was I wanted to be Slave Leia. Didn't buy anything on Amazon in time, so I went to Party City looking for a Slave Leia. Couldn't find anything, so I went with the next best thing, and that's the Cape Crusader. 'Cause I'm Batman.
Yeah, so like anyone, like obviously people listening to this or watching this that didn't see the pre-show, but Cam was trying to put on a onesie. He turned on his camera. Me and George got to see him basically naked putting on this onesie. Then he did the big brain move where he just cut the onesie at the waist to say like I'm just gonna have a crop top and leggings. And now he's like while I was talking during my costume reveal, like he was like cutting his armpits with the scissors. So I mean, we keep saying like if you're not watching this and explaining it, but this is one that if you're like commuting to work and listening, like we get it, but you're gonna have to go back and go onto YouTube and watch this. Like this is a can't miss video episode. But Cam's almost looking like Antonio Banderas from like a Zorro movie right now.
Oh my God.
Fake muscles, by the way. Real muscles, by the way. That's what I meant.
All right, I went with the Tyler route. I went with something a little comfortable, something that I could possibly wear, even if it's not Halloween. I am Marty McFly, which is just a jean jacket and a red little puffer vest. It's actually pretty comfortable, and I'm going to wear this for the rest of the day, regardless of where I go. I figured that we start this episode with something a little fun. So obviously, everyone listening, if you do not know, Cam and Tyler are not big horror guys. You know, me and Seth watched every horror movie known to man to prepare for this episode. Cam and Tyler watched Halloween Town and The Big Sick.
Spooky movies.
Spooky movies. So I figured let's start. Cam and Tyler, what are some of the most acclaimed horror movies that you have not seen? I want you to piss me and Seth off as much as possible right now.
Cam, you go first.
Well, I was gonna let you go first because your list will be. I'm less a not horror guy than you guys than Tyler. I am not a horror guy, but my wife is so big of horror fan, and like my roommate for all 4 years in college, he was like a huge horror guy. So I've seen a lot, or not a lot. The big one that I have not seen is The Exorcist. That's on. George and Seth both have it at a 5 out of 5, like one of the best horrors ever. I have never seen The Exorcist. I've never seen like The Ring. I haven't seen.
Both of those were top 3 on Rolling Stone's list recently.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
The Exorcist was 1. Yeah, The Exorcist was 1. Psycho was 2, and they had The Ring at 3.
The Japanese Ring, surely, not the.
Yeah.
Okay, right, yeah, fine. The American one is terrible.
Ass.
Well,
Yeah.
I have not seen that either. I haven't seen like any of the Purges, which I don't think are like
Not necessary.
super horror, but I feel like that's a new kind of cult following horror.
I think the first one's kind of fun, like to at least like see the world they try to build.
It's a movie.
Well,
with
I've heard
a
the first is actually okay.
Yeah, but a
The
terrible.
film's like a really good concept that just doesn't deliver at all. Like the second one was alright, if I remember correctly.
Purge Anarchy was really
No,
good.
is that the third one? The second one?
Third one. Purge Anarchy is the
Third one.
third
That
one.
was
Slightly
alright.
above average.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
You know, another big one that I know you two love, The Thing. I've never seen that. But I would say, as we like talk about it more, I definitely haven't seen a lot of low key horrors.
Yeah.
But as we talk about it more, I feel like I've seen more and more horrors. I have on Letterboxd, I have 71 horrors rated. So like that's a good amount, you know, not all great movies by any means, but I feel like I've
you've seen the majority of like huge ones anyway.
Let's see. Like I haven't seen any of the in-betweens, but I've seen the original Halloween and the Halloween reboot series. The original Saw I've seen, the Scream and the reboot Scream. I'm trying to think like what I haven't seen that's a big one for you guys, and I just, you know, I've seen all the Conjurings, shockingly.
That is shocking.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, like, I've seen a lot. I hate them all. You know what one I want to watch? There's a couple I actually want to watch. Like, I'm intrigued. Don't Breathe. I've heard is like really
That's a good movie.
Pretty good, yeah.
And the one with the white masks. The people Pulse maybe? They have white masks. Someone help me out here. It's like a break
Not
it.
full.
It's definitely not.
Hush?
Hush, maybe.
Or
Oh, that's
Strangers,
Hush.
Or
Hush.
You're Next.
I think it's
No.
Hush, the guy with the white mask,
Yeah,
who
Hush.
the deaf
Hush.
woman.
That's Mike Flanagan.
The
Is
one.
that Mike Flanagan?
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't That's pretty
I
good.
forget why my wife doesn't want to watch again. Either she thinks I'll be too scared of it.
Hush is a scary movie.
It's good.
I'm not. So my big thing is I'm not scared of like people necessarily. I'm scared of fucking demons and shit.
And that's why it's surprising that you've seen every single Conjuring movie.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
right? I know.
Conjuring, even for me,
What?
Conjuring 1 was terrifying.
Conjuring 1 is frightening.
Yeah, it is, man. It's fucked up. I hate it. But yeah, that's kind of my horror history. I wouldn't say the first ever horror movie I saw is Paranormal Activity. I saw it at a sleepover, probably in middle school, and that broke my spirits for about 6 years.
Really?
Hung out with that
yeah.
kid again.
No, yeah, I don't even remember whose house I was at, honestly. But I came home and I was like, "Mom, I watched a horror movie, and I don't think I'm going to be able to sleep tonight." Like I was probably like in 7th or 8th grade and pissing my pants, probably.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that shit spooked me, and I don't remember. I don't know if I've ever seen another, but I don't think they're great. if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think Paranormal Activity holds up as well as it should. It's not that scary of a movie.
I can't
It just did
remember
really well with the budget. Like
I can't remember it too much. Do you see anything? Like, is there, or is it always someone getting pulled off camera?
It's literally just something happening and you don't see anything. It's a dresser moving.
It's an incredibly simple concept.
Yeah.
And they made 12 of them. So
turn anything into found footage and it's going to be scary upon release.
Yeah. And those were always the ones that they said like were based on a real
Yeah, I don't buy that for a second.
It was like the director like heard something upstairs.
That's how they market film.
Yeah. I'll make a movie about it.
Tyler, run us through.
So I was talking to my girlfriend about this yesterday. Like I've just because like you were asking this week, it's for Halloween week, so you're like, what are your top 5 horrors of all time? What is the scariest movie you've seen of all time? I legitimately just have not dived in the horror genre like whatsoever. So for this question, you say like, what are the most shocking ones? Like I'll play the reverse Uno card. Like you just start naming massive horrors, and I probably haven't seen them. Like I'll just let you guys 3 just start naming names of like
the
big
Thing.
horror. Thing, no. No.
Alien.
Annihilation.
Yeah, you've seen it. Yeah, you've seen it. That was in your top 5, wasn't it?
Annihilation I thought was sci-fi, but yeah, continue.
It's
No.
sci-fi horror.
I haven't seen Annihilation if we're going that route.
I haven't seen any of the Paranormal Activities, any like
Shaun of the Dead.
No.
Can I say worst part of your top 5 horror movies?
What?
I know you've seen The Shining, and I know you have it rated.
Yeah, I have it.
Tyler,
like
what do you rate The Shining?
I think I have it like at an 8 out of 10.
Oh my god, that is.
That's what I knew. The worst part.
I think I just went into it with way too much. I only saw it for the first time like 5 months ago, and I think I just went into it with like all the hype of knowing like everyone considers it the best horror of all time. So I was just underwhelmed. I think.
Man. I only watched it like a year ago, honestly, and I still loved it.
Tyler, you haven't seen Shaun of the Dead?
No, I thought is that a horror? I thought it was like a comedy.
Or a comedy.
It's horror
comedy.
Okay.
I'm surprised you haven't seen. You're a comedy man. That's like for me one of the pinnacles of comedy.
Yeah, comedy man. That episode 7 I said is my least.
Oh
favorite.
yeah, I think I'm saying that because you rated a lot of comedies high.
No, he rates them low.
He's got Game Night at 5 out of 5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's one though. But that's like one of the few. But yeah, anyways, like I haven't seen like any horror. I do seriously want to start getting into it more, and I want to because the thing is like I don't even know what my tolerance is. I know that's like jumping ahead of the outline, but I legitimately just haven't seen scary. Like I can't even think. Like literally, like when you say what's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Which one?
Like nothing comes to mind.
Oh.
Literally nothing comes to mind. I've seen like none. I need to start seeing them.
Start. Well, Ready or Not won't scare you, but that's just a really
Ready
good,
or Not. It's
really
so
good.
I didn't like
that.
That's
yeah, Seth, I think you're just biased at this point.
Yeah, I've been like talking about it in the chat for a few weeks, but like legitimately, I will start going forward because I'm gonna like actually make it a priority to start diving into horror. And I know you guys have like column horror lists, but it's more gonna be like I'm just gonna say like what are like the ones I need to watch, like the ones I take off. Like I'll probably watch The Exorcist pretty soon just because it's on like our ReelTok collection. But I'm just gonna ask you guys each week, like give me like a horror movie I need to have under my belt, and I'll just start slowly ticking those off.
Yeah, The Exorcist is a great place to start. That's like one of the most influential horrors ever. It's the first of its kind. Like,
one of the most influential films ever. Period.
One of the most influential films ever. Yeah, definitely.
Tyler and I have kind of been going back and forth of like, you watch it, no, you watch it, because I don't think either of us want to watch it. So, hey, Tyler.
I don't think the Exorcist is not going to scare you, if I'm being honest.
No. It's all about demon shit.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm scared of.
It's the same.
If you watch it now, I watched it when I was younger and it did. But I think if you go into it now, after watching Hereditary and stuff like that,
that scared me.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is Hereditary is a completely different level of scariness. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, like I don't think The Thing is going to scare you guys either, just because I don't think the practical effects of these movies holds up in a frightening fashion.
It's the atmosphere, isn't it? It's the sort of paranoia-inducing atmosphere that kind of makes you unsettled. It's not to scare you.
I'll be honest. I've been sitting here, staring at Seth in his fucking nun costume, and I'm getting a little like I hear my cats outside the room. We have like a creaky apartment, and I hear my cats. I'm like,
do you want me to put a mask on again?
No, dude. I'm looking at my fucking like horror list, and the nun is like staring at me, man.
What do you actually rate it?
Two out of 5. It's like a 38, if I remember. We went through that once.
All right, before we get into our heavy, horror conversations, Seth, you are the only one here that has watched Terrifier 2 and Pray for the Devil. I know a lot of our followers have been requesting some sort of review, so do you want to give your quick thoughts on those two quickly?
Yeah, would you prefer me to start on either? I think I can go into Terrifier 2 a little bit more because Pray for the Devil.
Yeah.
Okay, so Terrifier 2, it's not my sort of film. I don't really like the kind of disturbing, somewhat, let's be honest, there is a plot in this one which is better than the first, where there was no real driving force or driving narrative. There is a kind of driven narrative in this one, but it just didn't do it for me at all. The effects are good, especially even the budget. Like the budget was $250K this time, so it did get a bit increase. The practical effects are good. The effects are very, I understand why it took them years to do so, but I have to kind of look at the film from my opinion and stuff like, the narrative. It was just so dumb. And also Art the Clown is like, he's not a serious horror villain. Like there's some things he does in this thing that it is quite like a comedy at certain points, which for a lot of people, like maybe George, he might like because he doesn't take himself too seriously, like a self-aware villain. But for me, yeah, it just kind of, it didn't really do it for me. I think the main negative I had with this film was the runtime. Like 2.5 hours on a slasher film, which is all out slasher with shock value, with no real narrative. 2.5 hours is a big ask for people to sit through that. Like that's 2.5 hours is a long film. Like for example, All Quiet on the Western Front, obviously I watched yesterday, George watched Friday. That sort of film deserves that sort of runtime because there's a lot to kind of go through. 2.5 hours on a slasher with no narrative is kind of crazy, to be honest. But I can see why people would enjoy it. There is sort of slasher elements. There's a lot of like mental kills. If you're a fan of that genre, you'll probably like it. I ended up giving it a 2 out of 5. So kind of like just below average. But I think a lot of people will get enjoyment out of it. Like George, I don't think you'll love it, but I think you'll get kind of enjoyment out of it at certain scenes anyway. But it was
I've heard people call it the best horror movie of the year. I've heard people call it the worst.
That's fucking mental.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's mental. It was. I can get why people would like it, but I think saying it's the best horror of the year is like.
Let me just say that was a much nicer review than your TikTok review, which
did you see that
they did get the Terrifier 2 official account to reply and say to this review just roasting this movie. Thanks for talking about our movie or something.
I didn't roast it. I always preface my reviews by saying that this isn't sort of movie for me. But then I went onto my TikTok yesterday, I saw the notifications. It was like it was the distribution team for the film, and they said what was it? Thanks for giving your thoughts on our
thanks for talking about our film.
Full stop at the end. Like, no emoji or anything. I was like it's so awkward.
Yeah.
And to be fair, they still follow me, and I'm not quite sure why.
They follow you?
Yeah, they follow me. I'm not.
That's so funny.
Like, but to be fair, like, why are they gonna mind? It's a budget it's a film with a relatively small budget. My video got quite a few views. They're gonna like, aren't they?
That's what I meant that's what I was talking about when I texted you. Like, they probably did not expect this movie to blow up the way it did across social media platforms. So regardless of your bad or average review, they're just happy people are talking about it, especially someone with 150,000 TikTok followers like yourself.
Hey, I do not have 150,000.
What do you have?
135?
Okay, say round up, bro.
You're dreaming, George. That's what it is.
Do delete.
All right, talk about Pray for the Devil.
Pray for the Devil. It's not much of a
if you want.
It's so bad. Like
worse than Halloween Ends.
Oh, do you know what? I give it a 1 star. It could have easily been a 0 star. I know that doesn't even exist. This is the sort of film that is like offensively bad. Terrifier 2, I completely understand why people like that. How can you like Pray for the Devil? Every horror stereotype you can think of, this falls into. Do you remember that phase where it was like every 2010s horror was like this supernatural exorcist thing where it went through all that sort of film and there were so many like ones that would just follow the same tropes and the same concept? This is that. Every scene was predictable. But what these horrors in 2010s managed to do was they had relatively creepy jump scares. And they had things that would kind of satisfy you in a scary way where they'd like shock you now and again. This didn't even have successful jump scares. Like, that's the thing. It had one which made me like go, like, you know, nod your head back a little bit. But like apart from that, it was just stupid. Like the only thing I could say positive wise is that some of the performances were okay. That guy was. Did anyone watch 13 Reasons Why? Obviously, Tyler, you watched it.
Yep.
You know the guy who's the gay guy, the smaller guy, his friend. I can't remember what his name was in the show.
Yeah, I'm
The
picturing
main.
him. Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
I can see what he looks like, but I'll have to.
He was it. He wasn't.
Okay.
He wasn't great. But it was.
I thought you were about to say he was great.
No, it was just a thing where it was like it fell into every modern horror trope you could think of. It wasn't scary. It was predictable.
Was it Tony Padilla?
That's the one. Yeah. Tony Padilla.
I remember him now. Yeah.
I wouldn't even just recommend watching it. If you enjoy it, that's fine. I don't get it. Whatever. George, me and you disagree on a lot of horrors. You're not fucking liking this. Like you are not liking this film.
I don't think I'm going to.
I don't know, man. Like, maybe I'm being harsh, of course. But
you mentioned jump scares, and you and I are both very critical of using cheap jump scares as a scare tactic. My answer is Smile, but what was the last movie that genuinely frightened you using jump scares?
That's a good question. I think Smile was like the jump scares were definitely effective at times. I'd probably say that, to be honest.
Yeah,
because as much as I thought they were cheap jump scares, they were done in a way that I didn't expect. This, when they even tried to do one, you knew what was coming. You know, like the camera would like pan round really slowly, and then a face would come up, and it was like, yeah, that was obviously going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh, but I did enjoy. I gave it a 1 out of 5 because the Colin Salmons or something, his voice is so satisfying, so it managed to reduce some of my frustrations throughout the film. That's one of the only positives I can think of. But I'll be honest, it wasn't good. But whatever. That's what it is.
All right. Well, two unfortunate reviews from Seth. All right, moving on. I have made it a point. Cam, I can't get over that costume right now.
I look good. I'm Batman.
I have made it a point this month to watch as many horror movies that were on my watch list as possible. I've seen 25 movies in October, 20 of them being horror. 21 if you count how frighteningly bad Black Adam was.
Frighteningly mid.
That was a good one.
I had that written down. I wanted to say that. What have we been watching this month? What has anyone else been checking off movies off their horror? Cam, I see you shaking your head no. I kind of expect this is a question for Seth.
I haven't watched as many as I initially, because I remember saying that I was going to go through the Letterboxd top 250 horrors.
Yeah.
I actually didn't. I have watched about 13 or 14. So I've definitely watched quite a few. And I'll be honest, the average rating of all of them has probably been like a 2.5 star. Like there's been not many great ones. Tigers Are Not Afraid, which George, I think you recommended me. That's really
a great
good.
Movie. Emotional movie.
Yeah, that was really good. That was done really well. And What We Do in the Shadows, which is like a comedy horror. Taika Waititi directed it, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, that was funny. Really like that. And then also Zombie Flesh Eaters, George. That was one of yours. That is just the most 70s horror practical effects. I just had a good time with that because it's stupid and I liked it. But I didn't watch as much as I thought, but I've definitely watched more horrors than most anyway. Quite a few.
Yeah, I was able to check off a bunch. Attack the Block, Seth. I know you said that you watched that. That movie had me dying.
What did you give it?
I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought that movie was hysterical.
So
I thought it was so funny. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil was another one that a lot of people kept recommending me, especially after I put out my top 10 horror comedies list and it wasn't there. I might redo that list because now I kind of want to put Attack the Block and Tucker and Dale vs. Evil both on that list. Prince of Darkness I checked off. I know I've been running through John Carpenter's filmography. That's a good movie. I think that's his most The Thing-esque movie where it's a little bit more psychological horror.
Yeah.
And then did you recommend to me Lake Mungo? Someone mentioned Lake Mungo. I really enjoyed that documentary.
What did you give that?
George, a 3.5.
I gave that a 4. I think that was so creative. And do you know what I thought as well? The acting, they're not actors. I think it was really impressive how they made it look so realistic.
Yeah,
it was really impressive.
For Cam and Tyler, Lake Mungo is a very interesting. It's a pretty creative horror movie where it's shot as if you're watching a documentary. I I had never, obviously we've seen found footage film before, but this was legitimately shot as if it was its own documentary and not a movie, which I thought was, it made for just a haunting level of realism, and it kind of scared the shit out of me.
And it like tackles like grief and stuff like that in such a way which you haven't seen in horror. There's so much more to it than just like a found footage film. This was like, it's a really good film. I'd recommend both of you watch it actually, because it's not particularly scary. I don't.
I don't. It's not going to scare you with like jump scares, but it's just going to scare you because you're going to watch it and be like, okay, this is a documentary. It
feels real.
Real. It's obviously not, but it could be.
Here's my problem. I just have like, Tyler and I were Tyler mentioned this the other day. Like, other than watching a good, like very low key horror movie, I want to run through like the whole Halloween franchise and just see how shitty it gets. Like that, I wouldn't even bother. Like, you're better off. No, I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, people always like. A lot of people comment on my like worst 100 movies of all time, and they're like, "It's your fault. Why would you watch this shit?" I'm like, well, first of all, I just watch, like, I like to watch movies in general, so I watch a good amount of movies. They're not all great, but second off, I don't know why. I would so much rather watch how shitty the Halloween franchise gets than a $200,000 budget low key horror movie that will scare. I don't know. That doesn't appeals to me more.
I don't know if it gets that shit. If you want bad horrors, there's so many more I could recommend.
Oh,
Halloween's
are
bad, but I don't know if they're like funny bad.
I feel like it's got to get into the like funny bad at some point. There's like 12.
I have a few Halloween movies that are in my bottom 20 horror movies of all time.
Like a half
horrible or something?
Yeah, like I know it's a hot take. I have Season of the Witch at like a 1 star. Some of them are just horrifically bad to the point where it's like you can't even laugh at it.
That's what I mean. I don't think they're laughing funny. Like I think Camel watch them and be like,
yeah.
I don't know about that.
It's like Halloween Ends when Corey says, "I'll light the match." Like, that was supposed to be a serious moment, but my entire theater hysterically laughed at it.
But that's the shit I laugh at. Is when like it's like that bad. Like
I would much rather you watch like B-tier horror movies that are
I know
actually
you would.
Decent.
I would as well if that makes any difference.
Maybe one day. Maybe
Tyler, have you been watching? You had quite the day 2 days ago because it's dropping off Monday. Man, for those of you who don't know, our good friend here, Tyler, watched 3 movies back to back in theaters on Friday.
I haven't been watching any horrors. But yeah, I was at 3 movies on Friday so I live an hour away from like the marquee location of Harkins, which is like a theater chain you guys probably don't know, but it's Arizona, California, Colorado theater chain, and their like main one is in Scottsdale. It's very fancy. They have like the official dress Margot Robbie wore in Amsterdam in it. They have like a patio that overlooks like a mountain. Like, it's a super bougie theater. But that's what shows. That's like the only one in Arizona that shows like some of the more smaller releases. So I went up there. I'm like, I'm driving an hour. I'm going to see 3. 3's too much in one day. A double feature you can do, but especially because the third one I saw was they were all Causeway was short, but the other 2 were like 2.5 hours. And the third one I watched was Decision to Leave, which is a subtitled film. And when that's your third movie in a theater of a day and it's not in the English language, that tests your longevity. So that's pretty much it for me. I haven't watched any horror. I'm trying to think. Have I watched like anything scary this month?
I have a question about Decision to Leave now. Do you think that, because you gave it a 4.5 out of 5, which is a great score, do you think the fact that it was the third movie and it was subtitled kind of held back your enjoyment a little bit?
No, I think I'm able to separate things, but Decision to Leave and Banshees of Inisherin, which I saw yesterday, are both movies that are like growing in my mind, like slowly just rising. The more like the longer since I've watched it, they just keep growing on me. They're both very good.
Yeah, they're both in my top 5 of the year. Like I love them. But I didn't think you'd love Banshees as much as I did, but I'm glad you liked it anyway.
No, yeah. But yeah, I recommend Cam and George definitely have to see those. But the thing is, like, I had to drive an hour to see it. I think it's the same for you guys too. Like, literally at my Banshee showing, they handed out surveys and said, like, we're one of only like X amount of theaters in America showing this. Please take this survey and let us know like your demographics and stuff, so we can see like who's going to see these. Should we show them more? So not very pronounced. But yeah, like Cam said, my next plan. Banshees. Yeah, go and see Banshees if you can. But yeah, like Cam said, my plan for horror is like I've been really wanting to watch the Halloween series all the way through. Is like, I know you guys say it's gonna suck, But the thing is, they're all like short, and I feel like they're ones that are just easily like bingeable that you could probably just throw on too quickly in a night back to back. So I'm gonna try to get through the whole Halloween series in the next like week or two is my goal.
I agree. They are all short, but most of these like niche horrors. Lake Mungo is like 70 minutes.
Yeah, some of these are short. Even Attack the Block.
There's so much. Yeah,
Like,
Attack the Block. Yeah.
The Descent was like an hour and a half. The Ritual was like an hour and a half. These are. I watched The Crazies last night. That was like an hour and a half.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna get into horrors because I really want to test what my tolerances because legitimately, like this is how, like I don't know if I have a weak tolerance or I just haven't experienced it, but literally when Shutter Island came out, like the trailer with that old lady, you know, shushing the camera. I was like, this movie looks creepy. So I watched it with my family. I can't remember how old I was when that came out, like 11, something around that age-ish.
So you were like 13?
2010. So yeah, I was like 12 or 13. My family turned it on. Like we were having like a family movie night. And the movie starts with them like on that boat. It's like dark and eerie, then going to the island. I literally went upstairs. I was like, I can't do this, guys. And I left. I literally left Shutter Island as a 12-year-old because my heart was like, I was literally on the couch and my heart was like freaking pounding. I was like, I can't do this. I'm leaving. Sorry. Like that. So that's how you get like my horror tolerance is literally, I don't have a horror tolerance is the answer. Like it's literally nothing. Shutter Island. I had to leave Shutter Island.
You want my story on that, Tyler?
Right. Half a life ago. So that's why I need to get back into it because I haven't literally given it a chance ever. But yeah, Cam, let's hear it.
I've got one of those. My older sister, so she is 4 years older than me. So how you don't need to know our age. What up? Yeah, she's 4 years older than me. She was on a date. She was probably in middle school. When did Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End come out? Or no, the second one, Dead Man's Chest. Okay, so I was a bit younger. Dead Man's Chest came out in 2007 or 2006, so I would have been about 7 years old. She probably around 12 or whenever it came out. She was on a date, but it was one of those like she was 12, going to see that movie. So my mom and I were there at the movie, just away from them, her and her date, whatever. I asked my mom to leave the theater when Davy Jones came on screen. Yeah, I'm not my best moment, but yeah, I have.
So did you actually leave the theater, or are you like?
Oh yeah, that's like a core memory of mine. Like yeah, we left the theater and sat outside. Shout out my mom for taking me out.
Do you still have that frightening sentiment towards Davy Jones?
No, not at all. Like now I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? Yeah.
Dude, like one more quick story about horror movies. Like when pandemic first started, I briefly mentioned this on the pod the other week, but like legitimately, like my roommate and I watched The Invisible Man, and I was Googling on my phone like when the jump scares were. So like, when she's climbing the ladder to the attic. So I'm like, okay, when she's climbing the ladder to the attic, I'm just gonna be prepared and I'll know when it's coming. So I like legitimately the biggest was you've ever met in your life when it comes to horror.
Dude, I do like that movie a lot.
No, I think it's a pretty solid movie, but like I'm just showing like that's how low the horror tolerance is. I'm literally for a movie that's not even scary. I'm like looking up where the jump scares are.
That film's so much better than I expected it to be.
Oh yeah, dude.
It was mad. I really enjoyed that.
That was like the very first movie of the pandemic that like broke the seal of saying like fuck theaters, we're gonna go to streaming. So that's like legitimately because like I've obviously always been a big movie fan. So I was like, you know what, respect. Like they're final. Like everyone was like, oh, we're delaying, and they finally were the first to be like, let's just throw it on streaming. So I was like, okay, I'm watching your movie now. Respect.
Did it do well?
That and Scoob, if you remember. Did anyone watch?
Oh yes.
Scoob.
And Wonder Woman 84 was like the first big like
it was one of those
straight to streaming.
Yeah, because Scoob and the Invisible Woman you had to pay for. Wonder Woman 84 was straight
just on HBO Max.
Yep.
Seth, we'll just keep this tolerance chat going.
I have no idea what Scoob is, by the way.
That's a Scooby-Doo animated movie.
I know,
dude.
I've never seen that in my life.
I think you and I, Seth, can do pretty much anything when it comes to horror. I think I'm a little more, queasy when it comes to torture porn and shit like that. Is there anything that will genuinely make you turn off a horror movie?
Yeah, I think there's boundaries for me in how much shock value you are putting in the film with no narrative. A lot of these aren't horrors. It's quite awkward. Like films that have a lot of whatever in, like Serbian film, those sort of films.
Yeah.
I will never watch them. I think there's got to be a limit in these shock value films. But to be honest, most films I will watch if it's just gore, like Hostel. I'll watch those. Terrifier, I'll watch those. I'll watch like any film like that. There's just got to be boundaries in terms of how realistic they're trying to portray the shock value. But anything else, I'll watch. Like I'm pretty fine with it. Anything.
Yeah, I agree. That a Serbian film, I've seen so many TikToks on that. People saying it's the most disturbing thing they've ever seen in their entire life. And then there's another movie. I don't know what it's called on.
Darlow, 120 Days of Solomon.
Is the poster a bunch of like ticks with a woman in the back?
I'm talking about. There's I think it's 80s Italian film which is filmed, and it's about these school kids, and they put them under you know what, and it's meant to be like the worst thing ever. And I had that in my watch list because I didn't realize what it was, and then someone commented like, "Yeah, you don't want to watch that." I was like, "Yeah, fair enough." Like apparently it's horrendously bad. I don't know the one you're talking about though.
I don't know. There's one. I'll find it after this. There's going back to a Serbian film. If you look on Letterboxd, there's a funny review that basically just says, "What level of film major do I have to be to enjoy this movie?" I thought that was pretty funny.
People comment on like my video. Sorry, Tyler. People comment on my video saying all the time, like, "Watch Serbian film." No.
Yeah.
Why would I want to watch that? No.
I have to be crazy.
Yeah, like I feel like a Serbian film is like the most controversial movie of all time, but like I've never really looked into it because I've never cared to. Does it just I kind of know what it's about, but is it just depicting that, or was there anything like really fucked up with like the filming of it that like crossed the line as well, or is it just like the movie? It's like a completely fake movie, but like everything in it's like completely fucked up. Did any of you know?
The latter. Yeah, okay. I think it's just a depiction of these ridiculous topics.
Which is still completely horrible and fucked up based on what I know it's about. But like for some reason, when I first saw the controversy about it, like everyone's like, "This is a movie like no one should ever watch. It's the most disturbing thing ever." For some reason, like I think at one point I like memory hold in my brain. I was like, "Oh, they like actually like committed crimes making this movie," because like I thought a Serbian film, it's not an American film, like maybe, but still, well, I mean, yeah, everything I've heard about it sounds disgusting.
It did get banned in like a lot of countries. Like it's just something that. That's the only tolerance I have. Probably same with George. I think everything else I'll watch, like pretty much everything.
I say we should do a real quick episode and just watch the Serbian film altogether.
No, no, we'll lose so many followers.
Unless we're just roasting it, it's not like we're agreeing with this film.
All right, I briefly mentioned earlier Halloween Town as a joke, but I think it's safe to say that was a pretty important movie in our childhoods growing up. What Seth, we'll start with you. What horror movies made you fall in love with this genre? What did you grow up watching?
That is a good question. Like, I think the immediate ones I watched when I was younger were Woman in Black. I remember seeing that at the cinema, and that was scary. Like,
Daniel Radcliffe one?
Yeah. Woman in Black one. Like, I thought that was genuinely scary when I was about 12 when I watched that. I think the Insidious films, standard. Like,
Haven't seen those.
Really? You not seen the first?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen those.
If you've seen
that's another big one, I guess.
Yeah, that was like the popular one when I was younger. I actually remember I watched Wreck really early on as well.
That movie's so fucked.
I don't know why I watched that really early. That terrified me when I was like 30, whenever it came, I was like 13, whatever.
That's such a good movie.
Mainly it was these like common American ones. I think I remember one my mom told me to watch when I was like 12, 13 or 15, whatever it was The Ring, the Japanese one. She said that was scary. I gave that a go. But I think mostly it was these kind of American supernatural horrors, Insidious, Conjuring, those sort of films. And then it kind of, you develop over time and you kind of diving more into the genre. And then, of course, it was The Shining, then it was Alien, which I watched when I was, in my teens, which I've watched an embarrassing amount of times now, and then obviously The Thing, Psycho, because you just kind of dive into it, don't you? You start with the most common ones that everyone speaks about at school, and then after that, it went straight into the classics per se. But that's pretty much.
Seth, Jesus, Tyler, Cam, you guys obviously not the biggest horror guys, but is there anything you remember from your childhood?
Yeah, so growing up, I did watch through all the Final Destination and Saw movies. I thought those were fun as a kid, especially the Final Destination ones. Those are so fun to just have a sleepover with some friends and just laugh at how ridiculous it is, while also developing insane irrational fears. The first couple, that series got so bad, but I genuinely do enjoy the first maybe 3. Final Destination 3 is the one I had on DVD that I watched all the time with the roller coaster that goes out the rails.
I've never seen any of those.
Oh, they're
Really?
I think they're fun.
I've seen the first two. They're
I
dumb
don't
fun.
either.
Yeah,
They're dumb fun. That's what
they're like basically it's just people dying in laughable ways.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I don't know. It's fun to have a good laugh. Like I think if you are in the right mindset, wink wink, like you would just have a blast with those films.
What is the right mindset?
I don't know, being in Denver, Colorado, or Amsterdam. If you catch my drift here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those movies are fun. And then the one like the only like scary movie I can remember watching as a kid, which I don't know, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. And you guys can say if it's like not even scary, but I saw this when I was like young, like 6, 7. Watched it at a friend's house, and it like scarred me. Was Dead Silence? That movie, like with the puppets. I think there was a sequel too. Dead Silence is like a house full of puppets. It's like a puppeteer dies, and like the puppets come to
I have
life.
seen that. I've seen that.
I was
James Wan film. It's a James Wan film.
Okay.
Yeah.
So look, I've seen a James Wan film. But yeah, that terrified me as a kid. I was watching it with my friends and I was like scarred. But that's about it. That's it.
Yeah, I remember, I think The Shining is like the earliest like genuinely frightening film I remember seeing. But I'm also still so new to horror itself, and I gotta thank TikTok for putting me on to, like, I've seen a ridiculous amount of horror movies just alone in the last 3 months. I think like my logged horror count on Letterboxd has jumped from like 100 to 215. I've been binging horror like crazy. I remember I was at a sleepover. Do you guys ever watch this movie called Splice?
Oh, what was that?
It's like this movie where they basically try to like splice together human DNA and like some animal, and it turns this woman into like this creature.
I know exactly what
I don't
it is.
think
Like tail.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't even think it's a horror movie, but I just remember that shit fucking frightening me as a child. Again, I guess we all have unlucky shit at sleepovers. Let's move on because 2022.
Can I get my movies?
Oh,
Because I want to talk.
Sorry.
Man,
No one.
I forgot. I thought you went first.
No, Seth did. No, I don't have anything else to say. I just want to say I literally Googled Disney Halloween movies because like that was my shit. But Halloween, obviously. But then this brought up like so much nostalgia. Hocus Pocus for one, but that, do you guys remember Twitches?
Yes.
Did you ever watch Twitches
yes.
and Twitches 2? Awesome movies. I haven't seen that shit in so long. I couldn't tell you anything. The Haunted Mansion with Eddie
That's
Murphy.
what I was
yeah.
I was about to talk about. That was like my favorite thing as a kid. So
yeah,
good.
man. And another thing, like I haven't watched. So Davy Jones doesn't scare me, but I haven't watched Coraline since I was probably 6 or 7. That shit would still scare me. I feel like
that is like not a frightening movie,
I don't think that's a hot take saying that you're scared, but I think most people are.
I think a lot
Like,
of
it's
people
just-
are,
like that's
It's
just
so
so
good.
in my head.
It's just the style of animation that bugs people out.
Yeah. A movie that like I wouldn't watch as a kid was like Nightmare Before Christmas. And I fucking love that movie now. Like it's like one of my wife's favorite movies, and I've watched it a ton of times with her. So damn good. But that's like another one along the lines of like Coraline that like I thought would scare me. Frank and Weenie, if you remember those. But
That's out in cinemas at the moment. I don't know why.
Is it actually?
Yeah, it's been shown near me. Like I was booking something the other day and I had like 3 showings yesterday for Frankie. I've never seen it.
Also,
Tim Burton one, isn't it?
Yeah. Frank and Weenie or whatever. Also, George, listen to this. This is the 45 best Disney Halloween movies that are seriously spooktacular. Obviously, it's a fake list. That's fine. But 41 of 45, Coco. Below
Wow.
Halloween Town, below Halloween High, or Halloween Town High, below Twitches 2. Man, the disrespect.
Is that
Coco.
ranking it on quality of film? Or
I
how
don't
much it's
know.
gonna
It's
scare me?
just says 41 or 41 of 45 on the 45 best Halloween Disney movies.
I mean, I know Disney's a massive company, but still 45 like Halloween movies seems like a lot for them.
I mean, this thing has like the Wizards of Waverly Place on here, Monsters
Come
Inc.
on.
Yeah, and you're right, George.
Smart House
Coco is
Fire.
technically a Halloween. Like, you could consider that Halloween.
I was also
It
going to say
is.
Coco is like
Day
top
of the Dead,
10
man.
animated film of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just looking through, and I'm like, holy shit, 45. Also, I'm pretty proud of myself. I was just looking. I've seen 17 movies that are considered horrors this year. Probably about 3 of those are like actually scary.
Is that letterbox horrors or is it?
It's IMDb horrors, so it's probably like just as
bit
bad.
better. It's
But,
a bit
like,
better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it still has like Fresh and like Prey is on there. But you know, like I've seen The Black Phone, They/Them, which is horrible.
Prey is interesting because Prey isn't even labeled as a horror movie on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
Letterboxd put out a list like their best horror movies of the year, and Prey was on it.
Yeah, I
Rules.
couldn't Prey as a horror at all.
I wouldn't consider.
Oh,
it.
it's not, but it's
No.
like, yeah, no, it's
just
the
a
same.
very-
Like, it's the same like with Jaws.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a horror.
Well,
but-
Jaws is probably more of a horror than Prey is. Like,
Yeah.
would you not say?
I'm sure for
I'd say they're
Letterboxd.
about the same.
I'm sure for
There's at
Letterboxd,
least
like the
like
lists
a
are
jump
just
scare in Jaws.
yeah, whatever someone believes is to be a horror is probably what they put in these lists. But then, like, I feel like what the genres are listed in Letterboxd are probably just like data mine pulled from whatever like the movie company puts. But yeah, I'm kind of looking at
Is there
Letterboxd
no
right now.
jump scare in Prey, like at all? I feel like there's definitely a scene. If I can't remember where like you see the predator and he like just pops up. Like it's not super scary, but I don't know. I feel like I don't know.
Also, George, Shaun of the Dead. Just had to get this in there.
Great
About
movie.
what?
Like, as it, when I watched, like that's probably the first one.
Okay.
I watched. I was
That's
like 5 or something. whenever it
Second
came out.
best horror comedy of all time.
What's first?
Evil Dead 2.
Okay, I don't like it as much, but I get it. That's fine. Yeah, okay.
I will say they're literally next to each other
Evil
on
Dead
my
2 first.
all-time horror rank. I think I have one at like 14, the other at 15.
Yeah, it's fine.
I haven't
Evil
seen either, so there's another maybe big one we haven't seen.
All right, we'll use
George,
yeah.
real quick. One thing you just mentioned though is you said that you like thanks TikTok for getting you more into horror. Like, have you not always been a massive horror connoisseur, or is it more
I
recent?
haven't. No, it's
Oh,
definitely more recent. I used to be fucking frightened of horror, and then I just kind of once TikTok started happening, I felt like this pressure to start like
Decided to stop being a bitch.
Yeah, just not even stop being a bitch, just to like because I would put out like my top 10 horror movies of all time, and like I used to not include The Thing because I've never seen it. I used to not include Psycho because I'd never seen it. There's a lot of big movies that I used to not include on my top 10 horror list, and I kept getting like repeated comments, bro, watch more horror, watch more horror, watch more horror, and then like my DMs on Instagram, even to this day, just keep blowing up. People telling me to watch different horror movies. So yeah, that's like a past year thing, me trying to catch up on every horror movie I've ever missed.
Sorry to follow this along, but I was the opposite. I watched horror. Horror and thriller was the only thing I watched, but I only watched shit horror. Do you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't go towards a lot of the classics and stuff. And then when I started TikTok in April, like I only watched, I think like there was so many classics I watched first time because I kept getting so many comments about them every video. I'd do like my top 5 horrors, and there'd be none of the, except from Alien and Shining, none of the classics on there. Like, I just watched shit horrors the whole time. The classic horrors. That's literally all I watched.
Yeah, there's so much that I just like didn't know existed, I guess. I didn't know like The House of the Devil was a movie. I didn't know Tucker and Dale versus Evil was a thing. I didn't know
Evil Dead. I'd never heard of Evil Dead.
Yeah, Evil Dead 2 I hadn't watched until like a year or two ago. American Werewolf in London, I had no idea that was a thing. I think you never seen that, Seth?
No, I've not seen it.
I think you would enjoy it. It's a brilliant use of practical effects, which I think you could respect.
I do like
But yeah, we'll continue our conversation about Prey and just kind of move it into our next little segment. We have been, I'd call ourselves rather blessed this year in the horror game. I've seen 24 horror movies this year. 50% of those I have above a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So I think it's been a rather good year.
Tyler, you're biased.
I'm not biased. I just have factual opinions.
Yeah, that's right.
Tyler, we'll start with you because you in the post on ReelTok we posted yesterday, you had Watcher in your top 5. I know that's just because you haven't logged a lot of things on Letterboxd, but I still do love seeing that movie get the respect it deserves. What other horror movies from this year do you guys consider top tier? Because we have been blessed.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at my letterbox right now and I have a filter by horror. So I've seen 7 horror releases this year, and my lowest one is Fresh, which I don't think is a bad movie. So totally like George, like what you said. I mean, from what I've seen the least, but still I've seen 7. I've like enjoyed all the ones I've seen: The Black Phone, Watcher, Nope, Pearl, Werewolf by Night, technically X, Fresh. I thought they were all great. Like I know X is super polarizing. Like I know a lot of my friends like saw it and were like that was horrible, and even people on TikTok, there's people that dislike it, but X and Pearl were great. Pearl, I know George doesn't agree with this, but I think Pearl's better than X, and I think it's better than X by quite a bit margin. I really love Pearl.
Trust me, I know. I've been told many times that I'm in the wild minority and thinking X. I also don't think it's that much better. Like people think I have X like miles ahead of Pearl. Like they're rather interchangeable. But yeah, people have been getting very aggressive with me every time I tell them that X is better than Pearl, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't hate that take, but for me, like Pearl is definitely chunks ahead of X for me. But yeah, it's been a good year for the 7 I've seen at least.
Cam, what have you watched?
Yeah, this I'll say just for a little, quick banter of the 17 I've seen. Number 1 is Fresh. I think Fresh. I have. We went through my top 10 last week, and I don't think you guys liked it. Whatever. I have 3 horrors in my top 10 this year, and none of them are The Black Phone. How's that feel, George?
What are the 3?
It's Fresh, Watcher, and Prey. So none of Watcher is probably the most horror. Fresh is probably
Prey. When are we gonna stop acting like Prey was a good movie?
I have Prey at 10th. How does that make you feel?
I have it at 10th. I have it at 10th.
Like I know you guys are better than that.
I'm trying to think
I know you are.
Yeah,
Cam, you've watched 17. I'm trying because I feel like in terms of our 2022 watches, I feel like me and you are pretty close in terms of overall number of movies we watched. I'm trying to figure out like how there's 10 that you've seen that I haven't.
They/them, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You watch these kind of movies. No, you don't even need to go on. That explains everything.
Movies. I watch all movies. Also, like on that list, like Choose or Die, Firestarter, I believe is that?
That was so bad.
Yeah, see, like I watch all ranges, man.
That was miserable.
Check the old letterbox distribution. Also, it says on my like 2022 list, it says you've seen 87 of these 88 movies, and I'm like, wait, which one? which one do I have on here that I haven't seen apparently, or I haven't logged, I guess. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch that are like randomly rated as. Wait, time out. Now I gotta check. Shoot, genres. Okay, never mind. I thought they were gonna put Hocus Pocus 2 as horror just because it's like a Halloween movie. Obviously, it's not scary. But then I was about to be like, you have that rated higher than Fresh, but it's not rated as a horror because obviously it's not.
No way, it's a horror.
Yeah, exactly.
We've also seen this year a lot of like franchise films come back. We had a Scream reboot. We obviously had Halloween Ends. What else did we have? We had Hellraiser,
Texas
Chainsaw Massacre. We've spoken about this before, but we can touch on it again. When are these franchises going to end? Why do they think we continuously need these fucking movies?
They don't. They just make a lot of money from it.
Yeah, it's our damn fault. We keep going and seeing.
We just keep watching them. They're going to keep making money.
Do we think we're getting another Halloween movie in the next 5 years?
No, but I think we're going to get a spin-off sequel with Michael Myers, like with him. Oh no, he's dead. Which was the new one?
Isn't that a yes then?
Technically, Corey's dead, but I've seen like a billion tweets that are like he could come back.
I feel like that.
Hopefully not.
Man got stabbed 14 times in the chest. What is he coming back from?
Yeah, but you know.
There's also a horror movie or alleged horror movie that I apparently didn't have rated or like on my like own spreadsheet. But I have seen this year called The Requiem or something. It was that shark movie that I was talking to you guys about one time that I missed it on my bottom 100 movies of all time, unfortunately, because I didn't have it on my like spreadsheet. But that movie was shit. It was like that shark horror attack bullshit.
Sharknado kind of thing.
So bad.
You watch such shit movies. I don't know how you do. I don't know how you do it yourself.
Man. You just sit there and you're like, this is horrible, and the whole time you're saying it's horrible. It's awesome. I love it.
a few other horror movies from this year that we didn't mention. Nope. That's currently my number one on the year. I know
my ranking or
your ranking.
no. I thought we were going round and giving the films. But
Oh no, we're just talking.
No,
yeah,
I was
just
going to
said
mention Nope. That's fine. Carry on.
go. You whatever you want to say.
Would we say Nope's a horror film? I know it's logged as one, but would we...
I'd call it one. Yeah.
I would, yeah. As the horror expert of the podcast,
it's like Get Out and Us. Like they're not.
No,
They're psychological.
Us is definitely more horror
Us
than
is
any
horror.
of the other movies.
I don't think Us is something you can question as a horror. Get Out and Nope, you can.
No, I just assume at this point I get scared by more things than most. So I assume if I don't get scared, most people wouldn't consider it a horror. That's kind of my like general rule of thumb, I guess. You know,
if it doesn't,
it's the most horror of the Jordan Peele movies, and I understand why they're all listed as horrors per se, but I don't think any of them are particularly scary.
the scene in Nope where the kids were dressed up as those
That kind of
and then even the scene where you see inside the belly of the monster and these people are like screaming for their lives. I thought like that's not frightening in like a I'm not gonna sleep kind of way. That's just like a damn, these people are being eaten right now.
No, I've always thought it's always like a thriller sci-fi kind of thing.
Yeah, like I don't consider like Close Encounters of the Third Kind a horror movie.
It's kind of similar to that.
You know, I mean, Jaws is obviously considered a horror movie, and I have it on my horror ranking. But
yeah,
if I were in charge of letterbox genres, it is not on horror.
How many horrors have you seen this year? Did you say?
This year,
as in like released this year?
2022 releases.
Oh, 24.
Wow. Okay.
I'm trying to think what you've seen that I haven't because other than
Incantation.
Yeah, have you seen Incantation?
No,
Of course, Cam's not seen Incantation.
No, that's.
Cam, have you seen Barbarian?
Have you seen Barbarian?
No, but I do want to watch that. I guess that's one.
HBO
and then,
Max.
Like, yeah, I know.
Did you
So
watch
obviously-
The House?
Nope.
The House is pretty good. Orphan
What's
First
The House?
Kill. The House, Seth, I think you would actually appreciate The House a lot. The House is one movie.
Oh, it's the animated one.
Yeah.
Netflix.
It's broken up into 3 segments, 3 different stories, all taking place at this house. I will say the first story is full-blown horror, and I think the first story stands out among the rest. The second and third story, they're frightening in their style of animation and kind of the themes they touch on, but I would, if they were separated, I would never consider story 2 or 3 a horror. Regardless, they're still good stories.
I know you said. Obvious.
Is he cutting out for anyone else?
He's cutting out for me, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you're still kind of going in and out. Moving on.
And then one more horror movie from this year that I just want to mention, and I hope Seth can come back for this one, is Mad God.
I can hear you if you can hear me.
We can hear you, yeah. You just cut out a little bit.
Yeah, you're good.
Am I still cutting out now?
No, you're back.
No, you're back.
Okay. Yeah, Mad God was good. Was that this year? It was release 21.
Mad God is this year. I posted a TikTok video the other day of like 5 horror hot takes, and one of them was that Mad God, while I don't consider it one of the best horror movies of all time, I think because of its technical achievement, it should be in the conversation. Because that stop motion, live action hybrid, and then just the despicably gross animation that we're seeing. It made for a crazy experience. The world building was unnecessarily high. I don't know, Seth, what did you think? I know you rated that a bit highly as well.
I rated it 4, but it's quite hard to rate. That's the thing. It's quite hard to give a number 2.
I say it all the time. It's like one of those movies. Like, how do you rate this compared to other films? Because, like, technically, I think it's a perfect film.
Yeah, I mean, like, what can you even say? Have you seen Speak No Evil yet, George? That's like a you film.
No, I haven't. Everyone keeps telling me to watch that.
That was like, so contrary to you, I've only given 4 horror films a 3.5 this year, none higher.
Okay.
I don't know, man. Like,
You don't have any horror movie rated above a 3.5?
No, my 3.5s are Black Phone. Nope.
What the fuck?
Jesus, you are a harsh critic.
Wait,
No. What?
that kind of threw me as well.
You're a harsh critic.
What's your like? So what's your top 10? You don't have like a top 10 from a 4 to 5?
Horrors?
No. In general, because you
No,
said
my
Fresh was
top
in your
10
top 10.
No, I didn't.
You said it was 10. Am I crazy?
Who?
No, that was Prey.
Prey. Sorry.
Yeah, Prey was. Oh, sorry, we counting Prey as a horror? It's not on
Technically, no, I'm
Okay, so-
not, but
okay, so Prey-
IMDb and Letterboxd do.
Okay, so Prey would be my highest of this year.
Okay.
George loves that.
That's despicable.
And then there was like Beast, Men, Goodnight Mummy, which was
Terrible.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 2022 edition.
Even worse.
Crimes of the Future, which me and George didn't like. Everyone seemed to like. I didn't love Crimes of the Future. Don't know. George, you didn't like that, did you?
Didn't like it at all.
But it's been okay. There's not been many that I've loved this year, unfortunately.
There are a couple of like I loved Nope. I loved Watcher X, Black Phone, even Bodies. I had a great time with.
I can't tell you how sad I was after Nope. I wanted to love that because Get Out is like one of my favorite films past decade. I was so sad when I didn't enjoy it. Like I remember seeing Sydney's review actually, and I felt the exact same way after I came out. I was like, so because Jordan Peele is a genius, like, and I just love his previous two. I actually preferred Us than Nope, which is probably like a hot take for a lot of you, but I don't know, man. It just didn't sit with me. I still liked it, don't get me wrong, but I just wish I liked it a lot more.
I think that was one of the more polarizing films of the year, not only horror films. I've seen a lot of people rate this a 5 out of 5. I've seen, you and a couple others rated a 3.5 out of 5. I've seen people give it a 1 out of 5. It's an aggressively polarizing film.
I mean, that's harsh.
It's harsh, but a lot of the reasons why I love this movie is because it pays homage to Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That exact reason is why a lot of people dislike this movie, because they think it's just a blatant ripoff. So I guess it just depends on what perspective you're looking at this movie from. And I don't know. I guess that's how it works. We can move on. So I have asked you guys to come prepared with 1 or 2 underrated horror movies. This is the time to shine. This is when I want you guys to recommend to our followers horror movies that either don't get talked about enough or are rated a bit lower by the critics than should be. Tyler, we'll start with you.
Oh man.
Start anywhere else, man. Start anywhere else.
Yeah, I really got nothing for you because like probably my favorite, like, which I guess I left off on that top 5 that I gave you the other day, is probably one of my favorites of all time is Alien. But I don't think it's underrated by any means, obviously. I will say, like, The Black Phone is not an underrated movie because everyone talks about it, but I will say, we've talked about this before on the podcast, the child actors truly, and the more, like George said the other week, the more movies I'm watching each and every week with child actors, the more I appreciate the Black Phone child actors. Because, like, especially, like, when again, I'm not going to harp on this, we talked about it last week, but, like, the Black Adam, I just keep thinking about how bad that kid actor was. And I'm just like, the Black Phone has such good kid actors. And then the other thing is just one thing I really loved about that movie is from this year, like, if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know if it's on a streaming service. I think at one point it was on Peacock. There's like,
buy it on Prime, I think. You can buy it on Prime.
But there's like a lot of lore, I feel like, behind The Grabber that you could dive a lot in. Like, I feel like that's a movie that you could actually read up on quite a bit deeper than what you actually see. But that I really enjoyed, like, reading up on that afterwards. I feel like there's a lot of subtle things you watch, especially if you rewatch it, that you could try to dive back into, that I feel like there's a whole universe there they could try to expand on in terms of the Room and The Grabber. So I'll just say, since we were just talking about 2022 movies and we're going to talk about, like, underrated films, I literally have, like, nothing. I will say that The Black Phone is not underrated, but I think there's even more to appreciate than, like, the people that watch it and just say, like, oh, that was a good film. I feel like the acting needs a little more appreciation, and the whole lore and the story behind it, I feel like you could dive a lot deeper into. But that's all.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fourth best horror of the year, so.
That is true. I have it at number 4 too.
Oh shit! Yeah. Dope.
Our top 3 are different, but I do have it at 4. I will say the Black Phone is one of the only movies I've seen this year that, upon rewatch, I've actually moved higher in my ranking of the year.
I was gonna mention, I feel like that's a film that will go up for me on rewatch.
Yeah, it definitely got better, and again, it just stems right from the child actors. Like, if the child actors did not do as good a job as they did in that film would have fallen as flat as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I might be with you because I've seen it twice. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Support theaters. I bootlegged it once when I was traveling. So, but support theaters. And then when it came out on Peacock, I watched it again. And so, bootlegging it, I probably didn't get as good of an experience, but I moved it from like a 83 to an 85 from a 4 to a 4.5. You know,
Really? I didn't realize it was that high for you.
Yeah, my second rewatch, I kept it at a 4 out of 5. I just moved it up in my rankings.
Yeah,
for 2022.
I don't know. I think we can all agree though. Watcher is probably one of the best of the year.
I'm seeing that next week.
So finally, bro.
Bro, it's been like a year.
I saw that movie in March.
Yeah,
I think it did actually come out in was it June or something? July, June.
It was,
yeah.
I think I watched it on the 4th of July. Is when
I'm expecting big things from
if
this.
You love Hitchcock, you'll love that movie.
I don't know who Hitchcock is, my friend. Never heard of him. Unfortunately, sorry.
He's that filmmaker that's better than Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, but that's not gonna. I'm not gonna bite at that. That's a valid take. That's no.
Cam, keep it going. Give me some underrated horror movies that you want to recommend to our viewers.
I'm kind of like Tyler, and I haven't seen as many, but I've seen a good amount. Freaky is a good horror comedy. I have it at 3.5. I forget. I don't know. I'm not looking at my rankings, but it's around there, 3.5. Whatever.
I meant to ask you, and not to derail a horror conversation. Yeah. Why is she cast as Scott Lang's daughter? Why did they recast that character from Endgame?
Want her in more films, and she's a better actress, probably. I think that's all it is they want her in a bigger role, and they didn't. I think originally they cast it as like just the role for Endgame, and then now they're like, could be in this, could be in Young Avengers. We're going to have her for a long time, and she's a great actress already. Yeah. Not saying the previous one wasn't, but definitely less of a household name.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, back to her.
I've never heard of that film, Freaky.
Freaky's good. It's a horror comedy. It's a play on Freaky Friday. Vince Vaughn, Catherine Langford, right? No, Catherine Newton. What do I keep? Who do I keep? Yeah, I keep
saying Langford. It's Newton.
Yeah, Catherine Newton. Another good one we talked about earlier, The Invisible Man. I was gonna mention that if no one did. That's a really good movie, honestly. So I'm not saying Ready or Not because everyone says it's underrated to the point that it's not anymore.
Is that another one we're adding to the list?
That's the first one. That's the first one. That's the first one that I noticed this. That and Planet of the Apes that I was like, no, sorry, I don't know It Follows. So
It Follows is definitely one.
It's definitely one of those.
But that is the one that I first noticed it, and I was like, dude, everyone says this movie's underrated. Another good one I just watched kind of recently is Run. It's on Hulu. It's Sarah Paulson.
Sarah Paulson's great in that.
Yeah. That's a really good one. That's more psychological.
I was gonna say that's one I wouldn't consider a horror.
No, it's more psychological than anything. Those are kind of the three that I have in the underrated because I can't really say I've seen too many low key horrors. You know, I'm looking at my list and trying to think of them, but Candyman from last year wasn't.
I didn't even watch
as good as I hoped. But it still was pretty good. I
enjoyed it.
I haven't seen it.
No, I didn't see the original.
I
have Candyman. Oh God, now I gotta search it. Just ignore me for a second. But I have it at around an 80.
I have it at 3.5. I have it at 6.9. Nice. Out of
nice.
Didn't Jordan Peele write that? He did, didn't he?
He produced it or something.
Yeah, he produced it. I think that's why I was excited for it. But I have it at an 80 exactly, so 4 out of 5. And I expected a little.
And the nun has gotten Cam. Yeah, the nun's got him.
There we go.
He's concentrating.
Every episode.
All right. Well, we can just move on to whoever was going next.
I'm going to go just because I want to branch off of
You're going to give one of mine.
No, I'm definitely not going to give one of yours because I'm going to give a TV show, actually, branching off of Sarah Paulson because she was in Ratched. I don't know if you guys saw Ratched. She plays Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, kind of a loose telling of Nurse Ratched's life before the events of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I thought that was a really solid limited series. It's frightening as shit. It's gory as well. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. I'm also going to recommend Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow, which I don't think is an underrated movie.
I need to see that.
I
need to watch that. I haven't seen
Every time I bring it up, that's the response I get. Oh, I need to see it. So I figured I would just let that talk.
It looks amazing, doesn't it?
I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's a very Tim Burton stylistic, atmospheric film. It does fall on a few period piece horror cliches. I won't, go into great spoiler detail because I want you to watch it and come up with your thoughts yourself. But it's worth the watch. And then I watched The House of the Devil recently, which is another one of the recent watches, which is very stressful. And definitely a good watch. And then Attack of the Block. I'll even mention Attack the Block because I fear a lot of American folk have not heard of that movie.
I cannot explain how big Attack the Block is here, and then it just hasn't traveled over there because the most American people have never seen it.
Never heard of it until someone I follow on TikTok recommended it to me. And it was hysterical. I was crying the entire time.
It's so funny. It's so quotable. It's like in school, that's all. Like I can imagine in American schools, it'd be like super bad. Here, Attack the Block, everyone quoted Attack the Block all the time. It's just one of those films, isn't it? It's amazing.
It's like, fam, that's an alien, isn't it? Like,
am I back? By the way,
yeah, you're back.
Yes, you're back.
Seth, I missed a movie. Sorry, can I throw one out there again?
Yes, of course.
This one I actually have rated highly. I have it 86 out of 100, 4.5 out of 5. People might say that's crazy. Did you guys watch Crawl, the alligator?
No.
Dude,
I didn't watch because of how stupid it looked.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. That movie should have been so fucking bad. Like it's just a flood happens and there's gators. It's very, very good actually. Like
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, please watch.
There's a scene in the trailer where the girl
is in the bathtub,
and somehow the alligator crocodile can't get it.
So he goes through the door and she goes over because, dude, absolutely. I'm telling you, it's actually a really good movie. I definitely recommend watching it, man. I agree with you, dude. This thing should have been horrible. It's a stupid monster alligator unleashed. But it's really good. I genuinely recommend it.
You definitely rate it. Like I've got 5 friends on Letterboxd who rate it.
Let's see. I rated the highest.
3 of them give it a 3. Okay. 1 of them give it a 1, and then you give it a 4.5.
It has a 3 average. All right, so tell me I'm wrong. Watch it and tell me I'm wrong, man.
I'll watch it. I'll put it in my watch list.
Genuinely not a bad movie, and I consider it really good.
Seth, give us some underrated horror movies. I know you have a bunch.
I'll give 2. I've got 2 main ones anyway. So, first one I'm going to go over it's not underrated. I would say underappreciated in the ratings it had. I guess it was underrated though. The Others, which you all 3 need to watch.
Yeah, dude, it's nowhere here. It's nowhere here.
You might have to just do whatever.
It's on YouTube, but the quality is so shit.
Yeah, it's like. It's the most cliche ghost story ever, which is just unbelievably effective. Like the acting's amazing, the lighting design. George, you're a sucker for like amazing dark contrast lighting design, sound design. Like creaky doors. The classic horror tropes were done really effectively. And obviously, not to spoil anything, but there is 2 plot twists in that film which blew my head off, like completely. I give that film a 5 out of 5. That's my lowest. How would I say it? Lowest rated. Letterboxd film, most average rated Letterboxd film. I've given a 5 because I think it has a 3.7 on there. So that's the first one I want to give, which all of you will watch eventually. Second one, a George recommendation, In the Mouth of Madness. I've watched that twice since you recommended it to me. I think that's better than Halloween. I think that's not even that far off the thing. I have it at 4 out of 5, but maybe one more trial could probably give it a 5. I just think in terms of the psychology behind it, I think in terms of the atmosphere, the score, the practical effects, and of course John Carpenter, I think that's like, and I also think that's one that Tyler and Cam will watch as well because it's not particularly scary; it's more psychological, isn't it?
That fall. I'm honestly surprised you. When I recommended that, I didn't think you would enjoy it as much as you have. I rated it a little like I have The Thing over it. I have Halloween over it.
What did you rate it?
A 4 out of 5.
Okay, so you rate it high.
It's still John Carpenter,
it's great. I love it.
Like I have Prince of Darkness ahead of it, and then it's slightly ahead of Escape from New York, but it's.
Have you seen Christine?
Which one?
Christine. Is it Christine? I think it is. The John Carpenter.
It is.
Yeah, that's quite good. I've got that at 4 as well.
I'm still running through his filmography. I'm still running through Cronenberg's filmography. I also find it interesting that your lowest average rated 5 out of 5 star on Letterboxd is a horror movie because mine's Annihilation, which is science fiction horror, but it's also horror.
What's that got on there?
it's like a 3.4 average rating.
Really? Oh, 3.6.
3.6, and that's my lowest average rated 5 out of 5 star movie on Letterboxd. Let's move on. We want to run through the decades. We're going to talk about these decades, kind of talk about the best movies from each decade as we go along. I want to know your guys' thought. What is the golden age of horror? When we get to whatever decade you think,
2020.
mention it. Stop. Come on, man.
That was just piss Seth off.
We'll start with the 70s, because regardless of what you think of the actual quality of film, I think the 70s could be considered the most influential decade of horror. You obviously had the birth of the slasher films and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween. You also had The Exorcist, which we just mentioned as being quite possibly one of the most influential films of all time, not only horror. And then you have Jaws, the birth of the blockbuster. Seth, what am I missing from the 70s? It's quite the decade.
Yeah, man. This
Alien.
Alien.
There is two standouts for me, and that is Alien and The Exorcist. However, Halloween is also there. Closely, if we're considering Jaws a horror, Jaws has to be there as well. I would edge Alien and The Exorcist, and that's my top two, definitely.
I think I have Jaws. I think Jaws is like Star Wars and New Hope for me. I think I rate both those movies just a bit higher than they probably should be rated because of their absolute influence. Jaws kicked off the blockbuster, the summer blockbuster.
I don't know, man. I think Jaws is that good.
I mean,
I have it 4 out of 5, but
I have it 5 out of 5 too. Yeah, it's still very highly ranked on my all-time great list. But I think a lot of that has to do with its influence on cinema. Yeah. That's the first movie that people were lining up a block around the cinema to see. Yeah. It's the birth of the blockbuster. You also had Carrie in the 70s, Black Christmas, which could be coupled with Halloween as kind of being this, birth of the slasher, or the modern day, I guess, slasher genre. And then Dawn of the Dead is an incredibly underrated film that we can't.
Dawn of the
Yeah, a nice little. What is that? Is that a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, or a prequel?
I can't remember. I haven't watched it. So that's a good film. That's a really good film.
Yeah.
There's loads in the 70s, man. There's so many.
There's so many in the 70s. We could have an entire episode like strictly on the 70s. Tyler, Cam, am I missing anything from the 70s? Is there?
No, the answer is Jaws, though. The answer is simply Jaws.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen The Exorcist. I know. I'm getting there. I know. But that Jaws is.
Would you say Jaws is better than Alien then?
Yes.
I have it.
Really? Like, I don't mind it.
I
don't mind it, but I think Alien is just that. Alien's the highest tier of film.
I don't have Jaws rated because I haven't seen it in so long, and as you guys know, I only started rating movies in December of last year, so I haven't seen Jaws since. But it would be tough for me to have it rated over Alien. But I haven't seen it in probably 10 years, so I need to get.
Let's be honest. The shark does. It's not a real shark. All right, it's an animatronic shark. You have to grade it for what it is.
It's not a real alien.
No, I agree. I think the shark looks good. I think the shark genuinely looks good. I think the
alien looks better.
Probably.
Also,
I won't argue with that. I think the decision, so much more.
The decision in Jaws to keep like the grand monster of the movie hidden for 80% of the movie. I think that was brilliant. They did the exact same thing in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Jordan Peele did the exact same thing kind of in Nope, where he keeps this ominous presence hidden. I just think that adds this level of fright that Jaws captures so well, because shark is such a universally accepted figure as, being this. No one's not afraid of sharks.
Yeah.
I think it's like Alien's like the perfect film for me, because it's like, it's so suspenseful. It's dark. The set. I think Alien has some of the best set design ever. Like, it's just incredible. But I kind of get why people think Jaws is like higher. But I think it's just at the end of the day, isn't it?
I'll say it. I think Aliens is better than Alien.
Well, that's a fact.
They're vastly different, but I think Aliens.
Definitely. But
everyone knows I hate Aliens, but
all I was saying about Shark, the shark, is that you have to grade it for what it is. Like, an alien can look good, but you don't know what a fucking alien is. So even if it doesn't look like amazing, you're still like, this could be an alien. Like a shark, everyone knows what it looks like. It doesn't look perfect. I'm just kind of trying to defend it because a lot of people are like, oh, this looks bad. No shit, it was made in the fucking 70s. All right, it's
Yeah.
not going to have modern CGI, but you have to kind of grade it for what it is.
I love
That's
how you're
just
like,
me kind of defending.
My argument
Jaws.
for Alien wasn't the alien over the shark.
No, I know. No, I'm not. I'm not saying that.
No,
I'm
that's
just
what I'm
trying to
saying.
defend Jaws before Tyler watches it. Honestly,
I like
because
Jaws.
I
Jaws is
have,
very-
well,
I
I've
have
seen,
it at a
I've
98
I've
out of
seen it.
100.
I just haven't seen it in the past 10 years. But
I know.
no, I just think it's funny that you're like defending it against like the audience, whereas like it just seems like you're like attacking us. Where I'm like, none of us said anything about
No,
the Josh
no,
Shark.
no,
And
no.
you're
The
like,
shark.
you're like, you guys shut the fuck
know.
up about the Josh Shark.
I'm just saying.
They
I
tried
was
their
just trying to
best.
defend it.
When you said you hated Aliens, did you literally mean Aliens or the movie Aliens?
The
Just
movie
Alien.
Aliens, I gave it like a 3 out of 5 stars. I just
Oh,
I watched it
yucky.
back to back with Alien, and I liked
it's
it
better.
so much.
It's
better.
better.
No, but Cam, you would prefer that though, because Aliens is like the action sci-fi.
I was my girlfriend and I watched Alien and Aliens back to back, and we were legitimately bored during Aliens because it was just too much action to the point where it was just overdone for us. Like I was just like, this is just the same thing.
Aliens.
I don't know.
I have Alien at such a higher regard than Aliens, but Aliens is still a 4.5 out of 5. Like,
Yeah,
I think it's
that's
still,
I have both of them at a 5 out of 5.
I
I have
Aliens
at
could be a
4.5.
5, but I don't enjoy it as much as Alien. So
I think I just did a disservice by watching it back to back with Alien, and for me personally, like I'm more like Seth, where I like valued the suspense so much that like the stark contrast was just like, oh no, this isn't. the
watch
same
more
thing.
horror then.
They are wildly.
Yeah.
They are. And to Tyler's point, like I understand where he's coming from because, like you said, Seth, one of them is science fiction horror, leaning more towards the horror. Another one is science fiction action, leaning more towards the action. So I understand if you enjoy one, maybe you don't enjoy the other as well as much.
I will say the Alien series got the best collection of directors of any horror series ever. I feel like that's not a hot take. Yeah,
Ridley Scott and James Cameron.
Yeah.
And then
David Fincher.
And David Fincher.
Even though he didn't actually direct that film at all.
And it was a bad movie.
He didn't get any directorial decision in that.
All right, moving on to the 80s, which a lot of people surprisingly consider to be the golden decade of horror. I personally disagree with that. It does include what I consider to be the best horror movie of all time, which is The Shining. Seth, I know you think so highly of The Thing. That is also in the 80s. And then obviously what I consider to be the greatest horror comedy of all time in Evil Dead 2. What else? John Carpenter had a boom. Prince of Darkness, The Fog, Videodromes. David Carpenter also dropped Poltergeist, Possession. Seth, run us through the 80s. I think is this the golden decade of horror in your opinion?
From what I've seen, I would say probably yes for me. Either that or the 70s, but there's so many great 80s ones. I think also The Fly could be mentioned.
Which I've seen that.
Oh, if you've not seen it, okay. That's like I don't really love a lot of David Cronenberg's film, but The Fly and Videodrome both great. Christine, obviously the Carpenter film, but Evil Dead, incredible. Evil Dead 1 and 2, whichever one you prefer. But for me, the clear standouts are The Shining and The Thing. Like, and then also The Fog, because I didn't love The Fog, but a lot of people do. So a lot of people consider it the highest tier.
I bet 3.5 out of 5.
I get
dislike it by any means. I think what the 80s does so well is, and I think what horror today lacks is diversity in subgenres. We don't see slasher films nowadays as good as they used to be because a lot of filmmakers focus a little bit more on psychological horror or torture porn. Where the 80s, you have two of the best psychological horror films of all time. You have one of the best horror comedies of all time. You have a bunch of slasher films. You have An American Werewolf in London, which is wildly different. It's just horror running across so many different subgenres in the 80s, which I think help it stand out among the rest. While I don't consider the 80s to be the golden decade of horror, there's a reason why people consider it, and it's just because of its diversity of subgenres.
I think actually look, I think it's the 70s. I think I'd go 70s. Also, Day of the Dead. I don't know if you see the George A. Romero film. That's great as well.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it. A Nightmare on Elm Street. We're not talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna say of the two I've seen, you haven't mentioned one, which is A Nightmare on Elm Street.
You've only seen 2 horror movies from the 80s.
From The Shining and The Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh.
I think you'd like The Thing. I think I really want you to watch The Thing.
I don't know. We'll
see.
What do you rate Nightmare on Elm Street?
4.5.
Oh, okay. I have it at 4.5 as well.
Yeah,
like a
4.5.
Hellraiser, which is
Oh,
not
God.
bro, I'm sorry. The first Hellraiser is 2.5.
Oh my
But-
god.
Whatever.
Tyler, anything to add to the decade of 80s in horror?
Just that The Shining's my lowest rated horror film of the 1980s.
Fuck you.
Is that your only rated?
It is my only rated.
Yeah. Okay.
That's fair. That's respectable.
No, it's not.
Now we're jumping to the 1990s, which I think is where horror falls off a little bit, and that
Bro, definitely.
yeah.
I was looking at this, I was like, what?
Yeah,
This is-
even when I was looking at it, I was like, this is not the best. We have obviously The Silence of the Lambs, which is the first horror movie to ever win an Oscar, and one of the best of all time. Blair Witch. I don't know if you guys have seen Cure, Kiyoshi Kurosawa's.
No, I need to watch that. Yeah,
You do need to watch that. It's the film he made before Pulse. But I know how highly you think of Pulse, so you definitely should check out Cure. What else? Obviously, The Mouth of Madness came out in the 90s. Seth, I know you think highly of that.
I would say Silence of the Lambs, yeah, if you consider it a horror film, that's got to be the best one.
Yeah.
Scream, also, in terms of iconic. Like,
Right.
The original Ring has to be up there. I don't like Blair Witch Project. I know George, a lot of people do. That probably would be up there for a lot of people. Also, if you consider it a horror, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. If any of you have seen that,
Yeah, I consider it horror.
that's a 4-star for me as well. But it really is quite lean 90s horror compared to like the other decades. I've not seen that many at all, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't know if it's a bad decade in horror or just the fact that I don't think I've seen a ton of.
Maybe I've just not seen enough of them.
Yeah.
I've seen 4, and you're missing the biggest one.
Blade.
Blade is on there. And I was gonna go with Anaconda. Do you guys remember that?
Oh,
movie at
I've
all?
seen that.
Yeah, man.
Wait, is that Cam and Tyler seeing horror that me and George haven't?
I haven't seen it.
Dude,
Yeah,
I watched it. I watched it pretty recently because I used to love this fucking movie as a kid, man. It's
Really?
got
I hated it
Ice
as a
Cube.
kid. I hate
Oh, I
snakes.
love
the Ice Cube one. No,
Ice
I've
Cube,
seen
Owen
that.
Wilson,
I've
J
seen
Lo. Man, I fucking love
So
this thing.
dumb.
I gotta
So
watch it.
bad now.
Cam, I'm surprised you haven't got that at 1/2 star, man. That is like
1.5. 1.5.
Okay.
Spawn came out in the 90s. That's my lowest rated comic book movie ever. So there's that.
I know Silence of the Lambs kind of. There's a lot of people that don't consider it a horror, but that like if we did my top 5, if I actually had movies rated like from all the decades, so I was able to give you a proper like top 5. Silence of the Lambs, when I actually rewatch it, will probably be my like if you were calling it a horror, probably number 1 of all time. I've seen that like 4 or 5 times and absolutely love it every time. I was blown away the first time I saw it when I was younger. But yeah,
It's
I
not
don't know.
fun for me.
Do people consider like isn't that kind of the hot take to have it as a horror?
I don't know if I do consider it a horror, but if we do, it would be in my top 5. But
I
it's
would
not
have considered it as a horror, like more than a lot of things that Letterboxd does.
I don't.
I think just themes of cannibalism should automatically be
Yeah,
dropped
right.
Right.
in
I
this
guess,
Like
genre.
serial killer, cannibal.
Yeah.
It is
I
weird.
consider it a
is weird.
horror in my top 5, but I can understand why people wouldn't consider it a horror.
Letterboxd is so weird, this genres, man, because some
It
of the ones
is.
they have as a horror, and yet they don't have a serial killer one. Like, I don't get it. No.
It's just interesting because like Silence of the Lambs is like universally known as the first horror movie to win an Oscar, but Letterboxd doesn't drop it in the horror genre. It's very interesting. We'll move on to the 2000s, and now I think is where we're getting into two of the best decades of horror that we've seen. We'll start with the 2000s. Seth, my highest rated horror film of the 2000s is Shaun of the Dead.
Big up, same as me. Yeah, love it.
Is that considered a horror on Letterboxd?
Yeah, it's horror comedy, isn't it?
it's a horror
Well,
comedy,
I don't have it rated on here then, I guess.
It's a
I
horror
watched it
comedy.
the other day. All right, then I go put it in.
A recent watch of mine that you told me to watch, Let the Right One In, Seth. That's in my top 3 of the decade. I think it's fucking fantastic.
What did you give that? 4.5.
Four.
Yes,
Give it a 4.5. And then Saw, obviously kicking off torture porn. And then even, I know Blair Witch came out in the 90s, but that kind of sparked this massive boom of foul footage in the 2000s. We had Wreck, Cloverfield. What other found footage films from the 2000s?
Bro, I'm just looking at this list. There's so many great 2000s ones.
There's a ton, yeah. You even have Martyrs, which is just one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen. I just
Never watch it again.
never watched that movie again. And Pulse, having Kiyoshi Kurosawa's follow-up to Cure. What else? What am I missing? Cam, what from the 2000s have you watched? I love that
Yeah.
you laugh every time.
Well, because when you get into my because it's Saw at a 4 out of 5, and then after that it's Peaks at a 3 out of 5 of the 6 I've seen. Constantine, Blade 2, Blade 3, and then the 2 Alien versus Predators are those are the 6 I've seen.
Okay.
And Alien vs Predator and Alien vs Predator Requiem are a 1 and a 1.5 star, respectively. Blade 3 is a half star. Just ass movies. So when you said like we're getting into the best horrors, I'm like, oh, I just haven't seen them then.
That's because you got to watch more. I also didn't mention.
No, that being said, I just said, actually, I don't have Shaun of the Dead rated apparently, but I just watched that. Probably 2 months ago when I guys texted you. 91. Luckily, I didn't have it on my spreadsheet either. Luckily, I texted you all what I had it, because I wasn't gonna go back and rewatch it. I watched it 2 months ago. So,
well, congratulations to everyone listening to this episode. You had a live Cam Walsh 27 rating.
Yeah.
Other 2000s films that I think we need to mention: Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, I don't have.
I don't rate that as highly as some other found footage films like Cloverfield and Wreck, but that movie swept the nation. It kind of took over. It's what everyone was talking about for like 2 weeks straight. Yo, did you watch Paranormal Activity? And when that movie came out, I was like 12, so I obviously had not seen Paranormal Activity. The Mist is another one I recently watched, and then saw 1, 2, 3, 4, or I don't know how many are in the 2000s, but torture porn kind of started to boom because of Saw in the 2000s. Am I missing anything?
I've
Seth?
got a few more, I think.
Yeah.
One, I think 2 films that you're missing: The Zombie Trend, 28 Days Later.
Yes.
Great film. And also, in my opinion, one of the better horror comedies, Zombieland 1. I think Zombieland's great.
Really good movie.
Is that a horror comedy?
It's down as one.
Is
Yeah,
it?
of course.
It's got to be considered a horror.
It's
For
the
I
same
don't, I don't
Yeah.
have that rated either. I don't think.
Interesting.
But good movie.
I never
The Host-
consider that a horror.
It's the same Shaun of the Dead, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I guess.
Bon Joon-ho's The Host.
Fantastic
The
movie.
Descent. The Orphanage, which I don't know if you've seen, George, but if you haven't, definitely watch it. Lake Mungo, Shutter, the Thai film, The Mist, I believe said, and my highest rated one, well, after Shaun of the Dead, is The Others, obviously. There's loads. There's so many you can go over. Thirst, have you seen that? You seen Thirst?
Thirst, no.
It's a South Korean one. It's Park Chan-wook. It's the same guy who did Old Boy.
Yeah.
And then also, do you know what? Not a bad film, kind of. Sweeney Todd, if we're considering that horror.
Yes. That is
I
a
think-
horror. That is a
Yeah.
good shout.
Yeah.
I'll also shout out 2 maybe not great movies, but movies I could find enjoyment out of. Jennifer's Body
Yes.
and Van Helsing.
Oh, I haven't seen that in so long.
I haven't seen both of those in so long, but there's like Jennifer's Body has like a cult following.
It does.
Like a
That's probably the
crazy
Megan Fox
cult
effect.
following.
Are people horny for it?
It's not
Yes.
even
No,
that.
no,
It's
not
like
even that. Yeah, like
it's
one of
like-
one of our favorite TikTok creators just posted a video the other day calling it one of the most underrated movies of all time.
all right. Anyways,
strange.
I want to add a 2000 shout.
Please.
I mentioned it earlier. The Final Destination series kicked off, and one thing I want to mention is, I would argue has anyone? So who here's seen Final Destination movies? Only Cam.
Wait,
And me?
I've seen the first 2.
Okay, you've seen the
seen
second one? You haven't seen them? Damn. Well, I think a lot of people listening to this will agree that Final Destination 2, I think, is one of the most impactful and memorable scenes ever, because anytime you're driving on a highway behind a truck that has like anything is carrying on the back, anyone who's seen Final Destination will always remember that movie. Like, no matter what, anytime you're driving behind a truck, you'll always remember that movie.
that should
I quite
happen.
liked the second one.
Not to spoil The Descent, but that was like the first scene of The Descent where something just shoots through a truck and shoots through someone's windshield and just rips his face off,
Yeah.
which is just a absurd fear.
Yeah.
but
I
that-
quite like Final Destination 2. I got a 3 out of 5. I remember enjoying that film.
No,
I
yeah.
need to
So
watch.
that whole
I gotta
series,
watch.
the first one came out in the year 2000. Just basically each movie is just 10 to 15 deaths of just weird happenstances. Like, they're lifting weights and something falls, and then the weight falls off the safety and it crushes someone's head. Like, all just like bizarrely funny. But I do want to say, just like anyone who's seen this knows, Final Destination 2, that scene with the truck, anytime you're fucking on the highway and you're behind a truck that has like a lot of shit on the semi bed that looks a little sketchy, you're immediately thinking Final Destination 2, and you're immediately like, I'm passing this fucking shit right now. I'm not taking any chances.
Is there? And I know there's a bunch of movies, so if you don't remember, that's cool. But is there a Final Destination scene where like someone's getting acupuncture and falls? Because I
don't
like
remember that. That'd be
vaguely
awesome.
remember seeing a TikTok, one of those TikTok that Cam hates, where it's like this guy goes to an acupuncture to blah blah blah, and it like ends up being like he dies or something because he falls.
I wouldn't doubt it, but I know there's a tanning bed where something falls on top of the tanning bed, and then it basically just like roasts them alive. So there's a lot of stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if there'd be an acupuncture version.
Yeah.
George,
Yes.
sorry, one more I want to put in that I know you'll like. I've seen that you haven't seen it. Eden Lake.
Never seen Eden Lake.
So it's a very British like horror thriller, and it's one of those that keeps you on the edge of your seat, and it's just incredibly suspenseful. Jack O'Connell is one of the main guys.
Okay.
We like Jack O'Connell.
Yeah, we do.
And it's very disturbing, very suspenseful, and it's about 85 minutes long or something. It's definitely one that people, if you like shit that's going to make you feel anxious, paranoid.
Which I do.
Yeah, exactly. Uncomfortable. And it just has these disturbing scenes. You will like it. I'm surprised you haven't watched it. It's your sort of film.
I got today and tomorrow to catch up on more horror before spooky season ends. So
watch it. It's good.
I got to figure it out. All right, let's move on to the 2010s, which is what I consider to be the best decade for horror. I think it's the best decade for film in general, but that's a conversation for another time.
70s.
Stop it. Get Out, Hereditary, Annihilation, The Lighthouse, Black Swan, It Follows, Ready or Not. Man, I have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 horror films from the 2010s rated a 5-star. And then
I have 3.
And then I have another 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 rated at 4.5 out of 5 stars.
19?
Yeah.
Really?
I have
4.
That's a lot.
A lot of 4s, though. I have a lot of 4s. Like a lot of 4s.
My like we did our top 5, obviously. One of my number 5 on my list was Train to Busan, and it seemed that's one of the few I have it at a 5 out of 5. And I've
got a 4.5, so it's very.
I mean, it's great. George didn't mention it even. Like I think it's incredible.
I have it ranked number 7 of the decade.
Did you not cry? Did you not cry at that, Cam?
Not like actually. God, I hate this because it makes me sound like I'm trying to be a hard ass. I didn't actually. Like I did not cry. Yeah. No,
another South Korean one. I Saw the Devil.
Yes, fantastic shout.
Crazy film.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Is it The Witch?
The Witch. Yeah, A24 obviously kind of boomed in the 2010s. You also had John Krasinski's A Quiet Place. Was A Quiet Place? Quiet Place 2 was
that was 2020. Was it A Quiet Place?
2018.
Yeah.
No, 18.
Two. The second one.
Oh, the second one was 2020.
Yeah.
Or was it 2021? It was something like that. Yeah.
A Quiet Place 2, fun fact, not even a fact. It was the first horror. It was the first movie I saw in theaters when theaters started to reopen.
No, so yeah, I think it was 2021 because I think it was the first movie to get pushed back from COVID. I think that's what it was. It was supposed to be 2020, and it was the first movie to start that kind of we're going to push it back. But good.
I want to one that like Cam, you watched recently, you rated really low. Mother is down as a horror, and you get that 2.5.
Yuck.
George, have you seen that?
I have. I still can't believe Cam saw that.
You need to log it. That's your reminder. I give that a 4. I think Mother was good.
Really?
Yeah.
It just wasn't. I guess it wasn't for me. It was just. It had a lot of things, like a lot of themes in there, obviously the religion theme, where I don't think it did a good. I hate when movies kind of piss off both sides,
That's Hacksaw Ridge for me. That's Hacksaw Ridge for me.
Really? No, that's like kind of another thing with like Blonde that came out this year. Like, I think it did a shit job at like on the abortion side. Like, I think it pissed off both sides.
Purple Heart's another one that pissed off, I feel like, both sides.
Yeah, it's like it was making fun. And so it's like, you got to pick one, all right? You can't piss everyone off because otherwise I think you just made a shit movie at that point. I don't know. Maybe I'm.
All right, a couple more just 2010 shouts that I think deserve a mention. Ready or Not, 10 Cloverfield Lane, It Comes at Night, One Cut of the Dead. I don't know if you guys have seen that. And then
I need to watch that.
Yeah.
Did you say Hereditary? Did I miss that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just-
Did you say Midsommar?
Did you say Conjuring?
I did not say The Conjuring. I did not say Midsommar or Midsummer. Happy Death Day 1 and 2. I stand by that those are two very good horror comedies. I think they're. I know Seth does not think that of them.
No. I watched it. I didn't. This was years ago. I didn't concentrate. I said I'd give that another go. That's
Okay.
why. This is down as a horror.
Did you mention it?
I did mention it. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, The Devil's Candy.
Velocipaster.
Did you mention Black Swan? That's down as a horror.
Yeah.
Black Swan is down. If it's down as a horror, it's in my top 5 of that decade.
If it's down as a horror, that's my top 2.
Yeah, it's at number 5. I got Black Swan at 5, The Lighthouse at 4, Annihilation, Hereditary, Get Out.
I've got I've got The Witch at 5, Lighthouse at 4, Hereditary.
The Witch.
Yeah, I love The Witch.
It's a great movie.
Hereditary at 3, Black Swan at 2, Black Swan at 1, sorry, and Get Out at 2. That's mine. Do we all want to say our top 5s? May as well.
I don't. I don't
Cam
know.
have a top 5.
I have a 29 rated in 2010s and 26 rated in the 2020s. But this like just so my top 2 are Train to Busan and Get Out because those are 5 out of 5s. But I'm gonna have to go to.
Have you seen The Lighthouse?
No. I told you I've seen parts of it.
Lighthouse is so good.
Have you not seen The Witch either, Cam?
No, fuck no.
Also so good.
That's not like
That's not
I
scary.
know Midsummer would probably be around 3. I have that like a 92. Black Swan, I have like 86. Quiet Place, like 88, something like that. So this doesn't show me my ratings and it doesn't have them in order. So I don't know my top 5 specifically, but those would probably.
I think watch The Witch and The Lighthouse. They're just atmospheric. They're amazing, both of them.
I'll get to them. I know I'll get to them one day.
Well, let's keep this going and just wrap out the 2020s. Because again, like I said, 2022 has given us some great movies, some great horror movies, but 2020 and 21, let's not sleep on those years. Last Night in Soho, Malignant, A Quiet Place Part 2. I don't know if you guys saw The Innocents, but that was a really fucked up movie. And then even Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. Yeah, I'm gonna give that a shout. Fuck you. Thought it was a good movie.
Oscar winner.
you-
Wait.
Yeah,
Wait.
True. It won one of
the fucking zombie heist movie.
Yeah.
Oscar winner.
Is that the one
Fuck
with
you.
Is that the one with Batista in? 'Cause
Yeah, that's a good movie.
No.
It's a good movie. Eat it. I don't care. Whatever.
George, have you seen His House? I don't think you. I think you have.
I have seen it. I don't rate it as highly as you. I think I have it at 2.5 out of 5.
Really? That is.
I thought it was a good
got a
movie
3.
and it built atmosphere pretty well, but I shit you not, I predicted that movie from the first.
But
10 minutes.
I think there's a lot of symbolism into that in terms of immigration, in terms of there's a lot to that film.
It was just such a predictable, like the second something happened, I was like, that's gonna happen.
I don't see that film as like a horror. I see it as like a social commentary.
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah.
And then one thing I want to mention, the Fear Street trilogy, which is kind of.
I didn't even watch them.
It's just, I don't think any of them are particularly amazing. I just thought it was pretty cool that Netflix dropped an entire trilogy in the span of 3 weeks. And
3 weeks?
Yeah, they dropped one every Friday for 3 weeks straight. And I thought the stories were good. I think, which one is it? 94 is the standout, the one where they're at sleepaway camp, or is that 70 something? But yeah, I just want to mention those.
You didn't mention Fantasy Island.
Which one?
Fuck
Fancy
you.
I don't know what that is.
Are you saying that?
Have you seen it?
Because...
No, dude, I get that 1 star because it made me laugh.
No, that was in my bottom 100. That's
Okay,
why
yeah,
I asked it. Yeah,
so
I give it a half.
bad.
It's horrible.
Oh, it's so, but it's horrible, man. It's horrible.
Horrible.
All right, let's round out our decade conversation. Let's go top 3 horror movies of all time. I know we posted this on TikTok the other day, but let's have a little conversation. I know Seth and I both rank The Shining, I think, as the greatest horror movie of all time. Tyler, I believe you mentioned if you consider The Silence of the Lambs a horror movie, which I think we should, you consider that the greatest of all time. Cam, I forgot what you had number 1.
Jaws.
Jaws.
I don't think it's a horror. It has horror elements, but if we're considering it, it's the best movie on that list, in my opinion. But
I have it at number 2.
Yeah, horror. That's fine. The Shining, I have at number 2. So our 2 kind of flip flop. And then I forget what was my third. Was it Get Out? I don't know.
Was it Alien? Oh no, Probably would be
No,
Get Out.
I think it might be Get Out. Or that
Wait, was
might
Alien
be,
on your list?
no. Alien's a 94
Wow.
out of 100. Train to Busan 95. Get Out's on there at a 96, and I can't think of my third. I got to go look at this little video
Seth,
that I made.
How many horror movies on Letterboxd do you rate a 5 out of 5?
That's a really good question. I don't think it's like a crazy amount. I think it might be.
Mine's 9.
I think it might be around that. Let me check.
Yeah,
Silence of the Lambs. Sorry.
Okay, mine's. Oh, actually, no, George. Mine's more. Mine's 11.
Okay.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's 9. Mine's 9.
Yeah, mine's 9 as well.
Yeah.
I rate 4. If are we counting Silence of the Lambs or not? Because
Yes,
Letterboxd.
we are.
Okay, if we're counting
Mine's
Silence of the
fine.
Lambs,
Mine's 5.
10. Mine's 10.
Okay.
If we count Silence of the Lambs. Mine's
Which-
10.
Yeah, mine's still 9.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Tyler, anything you want to add to the greatest of all time conversation?
No, I think I don't need to speak for things that I have no expertise in, but I will say that Silence of the Lambs is awesome, and I will say that The Shining I will give a rewatch to and reevaluate my
Please
thoughts
do.
on it.
Please do.
So good, man.
That pains me, that rating.
I know you're Kubrick's little minion. I know.
Yeah, but The Shining is different. The Shining is like George is like
Shining is
The
different.
Shining's
Shining's
same with
different.
2001.
Yeah.
I'll give it a rewatch, and I'll also watch Room 43 or whatever the documentary is about the making of the movie too.
Oh, that is not nice.
I will say though, as amazing as The Shining and what did we just say? 2001: A Space Odyssey are. Inception is better than both of those movies.
Yeah, that is the most film bro in your
Just,
life.
I'm just
No
saying.
way.
I'm just saying.
Do you think Inception better in 2001?
I'm just saying.
I can't believe that.
I'm
Wait,
just
where do you
saying.
rank? Have you done a sci-fi list?
No, I have like my top
I want to
130.
know. I'm intrigued to where you're going to put 2001. It's got to be like.
All right,
top.
I'll make a sci-fi list. All right, let's move on to our draft. Our draft of the day is going to be all things Halloween or horror media related. So for everyone listening, we can pick movies, we can pick TV shows. I can pick a fucking pumpkin if I want. Cam can pick trick or treating or throwing candy at his baby if he wants. I don't care. You can pick anything related to Halloween or horror media. The order is Tyler is going to go first. I believe I was second. Seth was third. And Cam has the fourth pick. It is the classic snake, obviously. 5 rounds. And when it's all said and done, please vote on Twitter. Who won last week?
Tyler.
Tyler did
Officially,
win last
Tyler
week.
got the win last week.
We could also mention we'll put photos on Twitter of our costumes. I think Tyler said, and vote for that.
Instagram.
Well,
Yeah.
Can you do polls on Instagram?
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
I think Cam is going to win our costume contest just because of pity. People are going to.
I should win.
I might
Oh.
wear this shit when I'm like down and depressed, like just the cloak. And...
All right, Tyler, kick us off. What is your first pick on our Halloween horror media draft?
It's just funny because every time we say the draft order, people be like pissed when they get the last pick, or everyone's always like, snake drafts don't matter. And I truly think first pick is generally the worst. Like, I hate going the first on the board. But I'm going to go Halloween candy. I'm just getting candy off the bat. Halloween candy, number 1 pick.
I do like that.
That's a good pick.
And that kind of leaves the board open for me. I'm going to take the greatest horror movie of all time in The Shining.
Damn.
For the audio listeners, Seth is flipping the middle finger to the camera.
I just want to take that quickly, just because it was there.
Okay, I'm going to take the face of horror in terms of directors, John Carpenter.
That's a very good. That's a good first round pick.
So I'm really happy. I'm gonna get my first 2. I don't have a deep list because I feel like this is so broad. You can just kind of like
so
it is broad.
Yeah, which is totally fine. So my first pick off the board is gonna be pumpkin carving. I don't think there's nothing more iconic than pumpkin carving.
That's my pick.
During Halloween season. Everyone does it.
I will say, from your broad statement comment, this is the one draft that I haven't prepared for.
No, I haven't really either. I've just been thinking of shit, and I'm
every other draft I've had a list of things that I could possibly pick.
Yeah. So next, I'm taking another pick that I think is really good. It's the Halloween theme. The
Oh wait, never mind.
Okay.
Not what I thought you were
Yeah,
saying.
that's Halloween like
interesting. I
theme.
don't mind that.
That's a banger theme.
Yeah,
Whatever you want to say, that's a banger theme.
I was actually going to pick a score as well. That's good. I like that.
Good job.
I felt that.
Thank you.
Seth, second pick.
I'm going to take the greatest horror TV show of all time, in Haunting of Hill House.
Ooh, fuck you. That was gonna be my.
Was that on
next
yours?
pick. Literally gonna be my
just got
next
that
pick.
down. You know when you said TV shows at the start,
Yeah.
I just was like, got it. That was
You're
good.
such a scum.
I'm just picturing Seth like once he heard George say The Shining, he's like types Haunting of Hill House. Then fuck you. That's not.
No, I said it like at the start. Literally, I wrote it at the start.
Yeah.
Real quick before we continue, is someone writing this down? Because
I am,
normally
yes, I am.
okay. Normally I do, and I'm not
Yeah,
doing that.
yes.
Sorry.
With my second pick, I wanted Hill House, but I still think the board is wide open. I'm gonna go Trick or Treating.
Oh,
Good call.
good pick.
call.
Good pick. Good
That's
pick.
a really good Halloween pick. Elite in its class.
Thank you.
Sleeper pick here. It's me, right? I
Yep.
got two.
Yes.
Fall weather. Number two.
Wow.
Damn. See, I had a
Oh,
couple.
dude.
I had a
That-
couple
I don't
things
have
like
any.
that I didn't
No, I
know if
fuck
it
with
was
that.
Halloween or if it was like fall season. You know, but I like that pick.
I like that pick. That's a
Yeah.
good pick.
And then number three, we'll go Halloween parties.
Good call. Yeah, costume parties are great.
Yeah, costume parties,
Fun
college or bars, drinking, Halloween parties, dressing up, boozing.
I like that. You're going the very Halloween route as opposed to horror.
I mean, it
media
would be
right now.
disingenuous if I'm like taking
Yes.
The Exorcist, and you're like, you haven't even
Yeah.
fucking seen it. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's fair. Pick three. I'm gonna go, in my humble opinion, with the most iconic horror villain of all time, Michael Myers.
Yeah, I didn't know if he'd get back to me, but
George, you've done this twice in a row.
I'm sorry.
Oh God. I'm gonna go The Mask from Scream because I think so many people dress up like that.
yeah,
Ghostface,
you don't want
Ghost.
you don't want Ghostface as a person. You just want the mask.
No,
I love it.
I just want the mask.
That's
I
fun.
just want the mask.
I love it.
The mask
I love
is iconic.
it.
People wear that all the
So since we're going in that fall, fall time ish, I'm gonna say curling up next to a bonfire. That's great. I feel
I like that
that's-
a lot.
I don't think I've ever
graphic-
curled up next to a bonfire. I've
Well,
curled
I
up
mean,
next to a
just
fireplace.
snuggling,
Just
snuggling
hanging
up
around.
with your
Just hanging
friends.
out.
Yeah,
Okay.
just
Hanging
hanging
about.
out next to a bonfire.
I respect it.
The
Pick
graphics
number
for the-
4.
use it.
Pick number 4. Yeah, I'm kind of steering away from horror movies too. I think I'm going for broad things, and our demographic, obviously, probably just like 20 to 25-year-old men. That's fine, but a great thing, very underrated by the men in this community, a pumpkin spice latte. Shit hits.
I
That shit's
properly-
really good.
I had
I-
one of them the other day for the first time. It is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes.
People say it's a common white girl thing.
I'm
Fuck
so
yeah,
glad we're all on the
Well,
same
I'm a
board
common
here.
white girl, though.
No, I respect that pick heavily.
Yeah, delicious.
My wife told me she doesn't.
I
think
will
that would
say,
be like
though,
a-
I will say, I don't think we have enough female listeners
that's
to help the votes out there.
hey. Let me
I'm
just
on,
say.
I'm on like 20% my analytics. I've got a few females who actually watch me. Surprisingly.
Let me just say, if you're a guy and you think pumpkin spice lattes are strictly for women, fuck you.
Try one.
All right, Seth, fourth pick.
I thought he paused for a second.
Yeah, so did I.
I'm struggling with this so much because all the items I had, people have been taken.
I think
I'm going to
there's a
say
big we haven't taken.
Sigourney Weaver in Alien.
Okay.
Okay.
So you went strictly on like Halloween, like movies.
No, a
and
few of
stuff.
the ones that I had, like, in terms of Halloween related, have already been taken. So I
What's
can't.
her? What? Ellen Ripley, right? Is that what that's her fucking name?
Yeah. I just bought, yeah.
I can't believe this is a fourth round steal, in my humble opinion. Halloween costumes.
Nice. Damn, I have a variation on it when
Same.
we get to my pick.
Same. My variation I was gonna do, which I'm not gonna take because it doesn't count because like George already kind of took it. Like I don't think you're allowed to take this. It's just women's Halloween costumes. Is what I was gonna say.
God, you're horny.
We got bonk.
Yeah, Jesus.
Okay, fourth pick. I'm gonna go with There's a couple I want. There's no picks I love here, but there's a lot of picks I like here. I'm gonna shout out my pet and just go black cats. I have a black cat.
I like that.
That's a good black cat.
I like that pick. I like that pick
for sure. Man, I'm kind of.
Oh shit! Is my last pick now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Halloween themed TV episodes of sitcoms. So like The Office Halloween episodes, Parks and Rec Halloween episodes.
I like that. I like that pick a lot. I like that pick a lot. I got a few that I want for my last pick. I think I'm gonna go with something pretty broad here. May not get me a lot of votes, but I think this is the most iconic location in horror, and that's the Overlook Hotel.
Oh, that's rude, bro.
Oh. Holy crap! He's having an aneurysm.
I thought that was a shoo-in. Who is going to take that?
Were you really going to pick that,
bro? I forgot the name right now, and I just searched the name of it.
I'm so sorry, man.
I can't believe that.
That was a great reaction.
I thought that was a shoo-in.
That's great. That's
I'm
so
on
great.
street right now.
Can I just tell you? Actually, I'll tell you when. I don't want people to go. I'll tell you when.
I haven't got any. I'll go with Leatherface. That's all I've got.
Man. I've got a couple.
Do tell.
I've got a couple that I think would be good. I'm trying to figure out what will get me the most votes or what seems the best per se. I think I'm gonna stick to like horror here more and go with the Jason mask. I feel like the Jason mask is
Jason
a good
Voorhees.
pick.
Three masks taken.
You just took Michael Myers in general.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't want Jason.
There's a lot of honorable mentions we should go through. Who wants to
let's run through the picks real quick. Tyler, we got Halloween candy, fall weather, Halloween parties, black cats, and Halloween-themed sitcom episodes, which I think is one of the best picks. George, myself, I have The Shining, Trick or Treating, Michael Myers, Halloween costumes, and the Overlook Hotel. Seth seems to have gotten his second pick because I dogged him. John Carpenter, Haunting of Hill House, Ghostface, Ellen Ripley, and Leatherface. And then Cam got pumpkin carving, the Halloween theme, like the theme from the movie, a bonfire, or curling up next to a bonfire, a pumpkin spice latte, and Jason, or Jason's mask.
Yeah.
My last pick, I was between the Overlook Hotel and jumping into a pile of leaves.
That's good.
Oh, great pick.
I was. You go.
I can't believe you picked that. No, but the thing is, that is quite niche, like a hotel. I was like, okay, I'll get that easy.
I was also considering doing Haddonfield, New Jersey from Halloween, but I just thought the Overlook Hotel just sounds so much more intimidating than Haddonfield.
That's three.
I almost did like going to a pumpkin patch. That was gonna be
that's
my
not mine.
one.
That's not mine. Yep.
Pumpkin picking.
Pumpkin
apple picking could have been a good
that's
one.
a good one, man. Mine was gonna be like sexy costumes. I wasn't going as horny as Tyler necessarily. Anyone can wear a sexy costume.
You're sexy. I mean, if you take that shirt off, you're sexy Batman.
Yeah, everyone loves a good sexy costume. That was a suggestion my wife gave me, so shout out her, I guess. And then there were a couple others that I can't think of right now. But last night when I was trying to think of some, I feel like I got more. I just can't think of them right now.
I'm surprised only one movie got picked.
I feel like it was Halloween or nothing.
I was gonna pick the organ, the thing.
Yeah, the thing would have been good.
I was gonna pick the face. You know, the alien face when he comes out.
I feel like a lot of horror movies are just known for their like iconic villains. So you guys like took like their masks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also had haunted houses.
Damn it, that's one of them. Yup, haunted houses. How
was that not got chosen?
Yeah.
I had one that I thought would get picked, honestly, in this group that I don't think would get many votes, and I wouldn't be the proper person to pick it, so I didn't. But just A24 horror. Like I feel like that's a defining genre.
Yeah. We'd get Chad in the comments again saying that all we do is love A24 films.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think this is I like this draft because it was so diverse. Like there's so much you could have done.
On the haunted houses, the one I actually wanted that I forgot completely was haunted like hay rides.
Yeah.
on
Could
a
have done
hayride
corn
somewhere.
mazes too. There's so much like a fun we could have done.
Halloween themed like roller coaster parks too. I feel like every local like
you could say
theme
anything,
park.
couldn't you?
You
could
could.
literally-
I mean, that's the fun part. We'll do this around Christmas.
Honestly,
Sure.
like a sleeper, like honorable mention, just orange and black. Like
Yeah,
that color combo. That's a good
it's a
pick.
good color.
That's
for
valid.
sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will wrap up our episode there with our Halloween horror media draft. Like I said to start the episode, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Go subscribe. Go give us a follow. Like, comment, share all of our stuff. It would mean the world to us. Tyler has been hell-bent on getting into the top 200 podcasts, which we all are. We want to be there. We want to see our faces on that list. So any way you guys can help would be awesome. Today is Halloween. If you are going to a party, be safe, drink responsibly, enjoy trick-or-treating. Thank you. That wraps episode 8.